Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Hold on one second. I get my hair outside there. Chip, what are you doing? What are you doing, buddy? I know you want attention. Hold on. Come here, you. Come here. Come here. Oh, where is he? Hold on. You're wrapped up in my wire. Yeah, I know. Yes, you want lovin'. I get it. Yes, you need lovin'. You were getting good scratches. Can I do a show now? I gotta do a show. You got a lot of good scratches. I was covered in cat hair. I was covered in cat hair. Hold on. I gotta take my headphones out so I can take you out of the room. And then, come here. Oh, God. It's a thing. Okay. I'll play with you after. Okay? There you go. There you go. I gotta shut the door. I know you'll be meowing. It's really adorable, but come on, man. Okay. All right, I'm back. It's a professional show full of comedy and news, and nobody else does it like me, where I'm doing a show with a cat interrupting. Oh yeah, it's like the world's most professional Zoom call. That's right, a level 1 hype train on Twitch right now, just for Chip making a lovely visit there, and I don't know. These days, I don't know if it's my hair in my mouth or cat hair. It's impossible to tell. It's, hold on one second. I want to grab something real quick. And it singularly might be one of the stupidest fucking things I've seen. Okay, so we have a shit ton of stuff to cover today. Not the least of which is some of the story around RT being shut down in the United States. And oh my God, the Frisk bitches. Why? First, Stormfront and ISIS can't get a Twitter account, and now this. Now RT, which is a government-paid-for, government-run arm of Russian propaganda, always has been, doesn't even hide it, straight up there with North Korea and the CCPs, CGTV, and CCTV. And people are like, well, basically, the United States media is run by the government anyways. What's the difference? I'll tell you what the difference is. There's a passive direction where the government puts out information and the media, on the whole, looks at it dubiously, carries forth the stuff that they seem to think is the reality as much as possible. There may be a weighing of political ideals in the editorial rooms of some places, but it is a long way from we only hire people who say the right thing, and if you don't say the right thing, you're in jail. There's a huge difference. And needless to say, Lee Camp is very upset today. For those of you who don't know, I used to like Lee Camp. I used to, as anti-war guys go, he was pretty good. And then he started letting Vladimir Putin pay his rent for about 15 years. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, what was Russia supposed to do? Not fire missiles at a nuclear facility? I mean, honestly, if any of these civilians escape, they're really just going to be carrying, they'll be used in ads for Raytheon to benefit the U.S. war machine. So it's probably better if they die. I'm goofily paraphrasing these idiots, but Katie Halper has this show, and if anything sums up her feeling about the fact that the world is like upset with Vladimir Putin, it's this. Anytime you bring up that Vladimir Putin bad, she looks like somebody's holding a small turd under her nose. We will get to the 5-egg shirt's still in the dryer. I'm sorry. It wasn't ready. I had cat hair on me, and I'm sorry. I will wear it. I promise. I will wear it. Yeah, but I beg your pardon. I got carried away because I was chip chasing. I'll have the 5-egg shirt on. I will. I'll wear it. I promise. Okay, so, because it's still in the dryer. I was late putting stuff in the dryer, all right? My dad called. It was a lot. Okay, so, yeah. We'll get to them in a little bit. Now, there's so much to cover, not the least of which is Glenn Beck has joined the cavalcade of stars, the battle of the nutwork stars, that is the right wing that is now saying that, obviously nobody thinks it's okay for Vladimir Putin to be strafe bombing apartment buildings and killing children. But, we kind of brought this on ourselves. Right? That business. Dan Bongino is probably the single dumbest person and the shortest clip next to Don Jr. So we will jump right in. Think of it as a moron aperitif. This is Dan Bongini. Bongholio. Dan Bongholio. What will a desperate, isolated Putin do? I don't know, sing MacArthur Park? Who gives a fuck? Are we, is this the whole, like, we're backing these people into a corner. We have to give him an out. Maybe one of those yachts we've seized. Let him have it. Just come on. Don't expect strong men of the world to actually get their comeuppance. Ugh. But let's see. What will a desperate, isolated Putin do? Let's find out what Bongholio thinks. Who is, of course, looking for a teepee for his bunghole. We will find out. Okay, here we go. Bongholio.
An opinion about this horrific Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Okay, hold on. There was a tip on the beginning of that. What?
Listen, everyone has an opinion about this horrific Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Yeah, what do you think this is? A country with free speech or something?
We're approaching the 2-week mark of fighting. But despite all the press conferences...
Yeah. And that's usually about the time everybody has an opinion, 2 weeks in. It's like any new series that everyone's binge watching.
The tweets, the official statements, the debates, votes, and opinions. There are still a lot of very serious open questions about how Vladimir Putin can keep his war machine supplied and funded.
Yeah, that's the question. That's what we're all wondering. How does he do it? Vladimir Putin's amazing. He can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, and he's still got more time than Bongino to be a man.
Can't go on indefinitely. So what's Putin's plan here? Question 1 here. First, the level of engagement by the Russian Air Force has been surprisingly minimal. Thank the Lord, by the way, and I'm not using his name in vain there.
You don't even reference. It doesn't even count it as an actual reference. I'm using it more as a label, or, it's kind of like thank Coca-Cola. You just if you wave the can, it's not taking Coke's name in vain.
Analysts are puzzled by Putin's failure to use all of his air assets to create his desired dystopia and hellscape on the ground.
No, they aren't. No, they aren't. Because he wants, the land, so you can't just destroy it all. You can't just strafe bomb it. And you can't just slaughter civilians because they are related to the people in Russia. You can't say I'm just trying to decapitate the government and then bomb the fuck out of everything. Every time they do hit something or a stray missile hits something that is beyond the target that they were aiming at, it shows up on the goddamn news and it sneaks through and any Russian that finds out about it is like, what the fuck was that? So that's why. It's not a mystery. He thinks it's his land already, dum-dum.
Right. Why is that? Well, I have an expert on this coming up in a few minutes.
By the way, that is a helicopter, a Russian helicopter being shot out of the air by, see that little trail of smoke that went up? It hit a helicopter, and then the helicopter goes like this and falls out of the sky. They've been rotating that one. You guys have probably seen it.
Is Putin being strategic here and calculating with his ground forces? Also,
or if
he's holding his ground forces back in this convoy, why? Is he?
Yeah, that's what he's doing. Guys, he's holding them back. He's like Braveheart.
Did they not prepare? Does he really want to destroy, another question, major cities like Kharkiv and Kiev?
No, hence why they're not totally bombing everything yet.
Does he want to obliterate Ukraine's major cities and ports while planning to occupy them later? Kind of an asinine goal, right? Can he?
Right, which is why most people think that that's not the intent.
To rebuild them later. The answers to these questions are still unknown, but they have to be asked, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Wait a minute, who the fuck is afraid to ask this question? Oh man, if I ask why Putin's doing what he's doing, what the fuck he's up to, geez, I might get canceled. You know how they come after conservatives all the time? These are the questions the mainstream media doesn't want you to ask. That's why I'm asking them like everybody else has on fucking Fox in relative prime time. What? Is that the entire show? Is that what his show? I don't watch it all the time. Is that Bongino's whole angle? Is it just like I ask the questions you're not allowed to ask? You know, like why is water wet?
Don't be intimidated. You're not.
Yeah, don't be intimidated by going, what the fuck is this asshole up to? Hold on. I have to do this. Don't be intimidated to ask questions. What's Putin's endgame? Putin and the nuclear endgame. What's Vladimir Putin's endgame in Iraq? What is Putin's endgame for Ukraine in Moscow as people are struggling? Russia-Ukraine war. What is Putin's endgame? Vox. What's Putin's endgame in Ukraine? What is Putin's endgame for Ukraine in Moscow? Geez, I hope all these people at Al Jazeera, Vox, the Globe and Mail, PBS NewsHour, Quora, fucking Wall Street Journal, I hope they all know their jobs are on the line. I wonder how intimidated they are to ask the actual question that most people are like, what the fuck is this dude? All right.
Russian stooge if you ask basic questions here.
And again, why? All right. Fuck, this dude is dumb. Like he's genuinely inverting the argument, not like, because he is the point that people are getting in trouble for is, what's Putin's justification? Why would he feel like he has a reason? And so a lot of people who are Putin apologists will back out. I'm just asking a question about, you know, what did we do to start all this? Why is this, you know, how is it in some ways our fault? That whole thing. That's not the question that he's posing. The question he's posing is, what's the dude fucking thinking? Not, why is it okay? Why is it okay would be the reason. Why is it okay? And I think this is why it's okay. That's when you get the Lee Camps of the world and the Jimmy Dores of the world. That those folks are going, I'll tell you why it's okay, because 1990, during the Soviet Union, promised Ronald Reagan that they would give back Berlin if he would promise not to reunify Germany and turn that. And they promised, and they broke the verbal agreement and a handshake deal with a country that doesn't exist anymore. And that also signed an agreement in 1997 that allows any government that wants to join NATO. Fuck off. All right.
That's the questions. We deserve answers too.
There are no answers, stupid. What the fuck? Why won't you tell me? What is the mainstream media telling you? They have a brain ray pointed at Putin. They know what he's thinking. Why won't they tell us? What are they afraid of? Why won't these people give us a transcript of what's going on in Vladimir Putin's head right now? Huh? What? I mean, do you even CIA, bro? What the fuck?
Another question here. Putin.
I don't even know that was a question. I don't know what the fuck is happening.
Massive convoy headed towards Kiev. It's stalled. There's a lot of reporting on this, and Russian forces are frustrated due to weather conditions and reported supply problems.
Oh, is that why they're frustrated? They're not at all frustrated that they thought they were going in on an exercise and now they're having to kill their wife's cousin?
Days, columns of trucks and troops, they're running severely low on gas and food. How does that happen?
I don't know. I think maybe Biden did it. Maybe it's the Biden's energy policies that are making groceries too expensive for the convoy. Maybe since that's your fallback for every fucking thing else.
It's kind of warfare 101, right? If you're going to invade another sovereign country, God forbid, wouldn't it be wise to make sure your troops at least had enough supplies to get there first? Beans and bullets, folks. Beans
and bullets. Come on. Yeah, beans. That is the strategy. Beans and bullets. Yeah, they're full of beans. Don't worry about it.
Bullets. If you don't have those two things and you haven't nailed down your logistics, it's probably not a good idea to invade a foreign country.
I don't think Putin's watching your show, Bongino. I mean, you could call him. You know Trump, and Trump knows Putin. I mean, dude, that's better than Kevin Bacon odds, honestly.
We'll have a guest coming up on that soon, too.
Yeah. What are they going to say? I don't know. I don't know why they didn't have enough beans. You gotta be short of beans. Why were you being when you have enough beans? Why can't you? Bring some beans. Beans.
Forget the Air Force concerns for a second and the lack of supplies for his invading army. If this
okay, it's going to be hard to.
It's going to drag on for a long period of time, which appears to be the case thanks to the resilience of the Ukrainian people. Then how does Putin expect to keep funding this war? The value of the ruble's trash.
Hey, fucko. This is the same dude who was telling us that the sanctions were not going to work. Listen to this dickhead. He's one of the people at Fox News who's like, sanctions? We're gonna sanction our way out of this? I mean, duh, beans, bullets, and bank books. How are you going to pay for this? I mean, how are we going to pay for Fox News if the ruble's shit? How's the Bongino podcast going to buy ads on Facebook if they're not taking rubles anymore?
It's bottomed out. It's on the brink of collapse.
By the way, I don't want you to think he's reusing murder footage of a plane full of human beings bursting into flames and dying all at once just for the prurient masturbatory, violent impulse of his viewers. No. That's actually a chart of the Russian economy.
100 to 1 in exchange rate with the U.S. dollar at one point. Folks, the sanctions and banking regulations through SWIFT may not bring down Putin for good, but they're certainly contributing to his ongoing financial and economic woes.
Yes, it's his woes. They're contributing to his woes. There is no point, Jimmy. Thank you for pointing that out. Jimmy was like, what the hell is the point here? I don't know. There is no point. This is fucking garbage. He's just filling time. This is gibberish. First of all, there's two questions. Why aren't they using the air? Because they don't want to just strafe bomb their second cousin twice removed, obviously. And why did they run out of shit? Well, because they thought it was going to be easier, because they were lied to, and because Putin's not a tactical genius. He's a fucking moron. He's a spy. He's used to walking up to somebody, spraying a poison in their face, and then going and having a sandwich. This is different. He's never invaded a country with or an area of any other country that has more than 4 million people in it, ever. This is the first time Vladimir Putin is in a real war.
Going to fund this war. And we found out tonight, by the way, MasterCard, Visa, PayPal, all pulling out. Perhaps the most critical question, however, we should be asking.
All right. Critical question is, will there still be Russian OnlyFans, and will Bongino's password still work?
Is what will a desperate, isolated Vladimir Putin do?
Right. He's running out of options. He's running out of cash. He's surrounded. He's got mason jars full of urine. His nails are growing long. What's he going to do?
Folks, I just want to say again, too, ask questions.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask the question, because people will try to shut you down, wondering out loud what the fuck Putin is thinking, and that his stupid plan might involve killing a bunch of people. They're going to scoop you up. The American Gestapo, the Gazpacho are coming for you.
Should be asking, okay, and then what?
Yes, right. Who dares? Welcome to Okay, and Then What? The new Bongino show on Fox Nation. On right after Tucker Carlson goes, "Why? I like Putin. Why wouldn't I like Putin? I like Putin. Who doesn't like Putin? I like Putin like Kavanaugh likes beer. I like Putin. Putin's fun. Putin's a good guy. Putin, is one of those things.
I like wood.
Yeah.
Establish a no-fly zone. And then what happens?
Well, then we're in a full shooting war with Russia, and then the possibility of ratcheting it up to a nuclear war is increasingly possible. That's why we're not doing a no-fly zone.
Consequences to that. When we know the consequences, we all as American citizens and smart people can process them and talk to our lawmakers and make decisions. Us being there and asking the questions, it doesn't make you some stooge of Putin to ask common sense questions like, how do we avoid a possible nuclear war?
Yeah. How dare you? I mean, I'm surprised this video didn't just go to black like the other ones. How dare you ask, how can we avoid a nuclear war? I mean, talk about edgy. Yeah. God damn.
Those are real questions. With real.
Yes, they're real questions. With a real word on the end. Real questions. Hold on. The real question. Okay, asking. Why you not asking the real question and not gonna have a big war? And then I can have a big war. Then you ask the question, get smacked on the head. And there's no teacher said nobody's no such thing as a dumb question except for when the bungholio tated.
Consequences. And one more thing.
One more thing. Tying a nail.
And Putin doesn't have to ask all the time, and then what, is because some of our lawmakers here keep advertising what we're going to do.
Oh, no. Wait a minute. You can't tell them. My mom says if I don't eat my broccoli, I can't play Xbox. So if she should have not have warned me, she should have just watched me not eat the broccoli and then say no Xbox, so I can go, why did I know the Xbox? And she'd go, well, because they need a broccoli. And I said, well, how am I supposed to know that I'm supposed to eat the broccoli? Nobody said eat the broccoli, just that the broccoli's there. I don't like the broccoli. I'm not going to eat the broccoli. Why didn't you tell me? You can't set the rule up after potatoes. I had the potatoes. I ate a potato. But I didn't eat the broccoli. And I don't want to eat the broccoli. But so I didn't eat the broccoli, and then they go to can't play on the game. You can't play on the iPad. That's why I would recommend in chapter 4 of Sun Tzu's The Art of War, you should telegraph the consequences, but not the stratagems. That's what it says in Sun Tzu, The Art of War. I have a coloring book of Sun Tzu, The Art of War, and it says let your enemy know what's in for it if it's gonna do something, but don't tell them how you do it.
Times shutting your mouth is a good thing. No,
that's a good idea, and in that moment he quit his show. That would be so awesome. Wouldn't it be awesome if it just stopped a show? Sometimes you gotta shut your mouth. And then he didn't say anything else. And then just roll credits.
Never got in trouble for not saying anything. You don't have...
Well, yeah, it's called dead ale. You're on the television show. Tell you what, test that theory. Tomorrow on the podcast, say, today's episode title called, I never get in trouble for not saying anything. And then don't say anything else and see how many subscribers you lose.
Advertise to the world every single darn clandestine op we're going to be involved in.
Hey.
Well, how do you know? And I appreciate that he did quit at that moment. They just decided to do it for him. Dead Air Dan strikes again. Goodbye, everybody. Hey, I love this guy on Little Rascals. Wasn't he Petey or something? No, that was the dog with the eye thing. So, yes. Yeah, you gotta... Ask questions, but don't be afraid to keep your mouth shut. That's right. It's a great strategy. It's the Bongholio doctrine. It's genius. There's lots of the whole world full of smarty pants right now. This guy's smarty pants. This guy's a smarty pants. His name's the Mess D'Souza. Now the mess, he's the mess. And he said, he got a video up and said, did America and the West provoke the Ukraine conflict? I think I have to go get an adult. I'll be back. All right, welcome to the show, by the way. Like and subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show in any way you can. Subscribe on Twitch, twitch.tv/HalSparks. Subscribe on YouTube, infotainmentwars.com. Who needs documents? Demes D'Souza. I mean, out of the mouths of babes. Seriously. Oh, 65 inch. Oh, I was gigantic on your television, was I? It's very, by the way, if those of you, let me know if you watch the show in the chat room right now. If you watch it on a television set or on your computer or on a phone or what you're watching on right now, if you vary it around. I just want to know how many actual television sets I'm on where this is like a real TV show. That's crazy to me. I always think of it on a monitor or laptop, right? Both, yeah, phone, laptop, and phone. 65-inch color, like, wow. La-di-da. Phone. Watch it on a tablet, a 45-inch TV. My monitor is my TV. Yeah, that's increasingly true, isn't it? Look at that. Lots of phones out there. Excellent. I don't know how you guys do the chat on a friggin' phone. That's amazing. By the way, most smart TVs these days have a Twitch or a YouTube option on them. If you want to watch like that, give it a shot. Also, Apple TV has apps for that kind of thing, so sometimes it'll make it easier on you, and you can watch both and not either, not at all. I don't know. Anyway, so here we go. This is, and I'm curious. The good thing is unlike, I guess, Bongholio, Demes D'Souza is not afraid to ask questions. Did we start this? Let's go.
There's a certain grim realism about war, which...
Realism? You mean a grim reality? Fuck, you're dumb.
You can't avert your eyes from. There it is.
No? Well, I suppose if you have a hard-on for watching people die, that might be true. I mean, there's certain things that a lot of people actually... One of the problems with war is people do avert their eyes. Unless they, of course, perv on it or something.
The buildings falling down, there are the bombs going off, there's the blood on the street. Most recently, the Russians strike at a nuclear reactor. Fortunately, this isn't producing nuclear fallout or nuclear contamination, but it shows you...
Yet. Also, like, we went from blood on the street to, I heard...
Putin. Putin's a guy who knows what he wants.
Putin is a guy who knows what he wants. He's the kind of guy who knows where he's going. He's walking down the street, shooting people that he meet, fully loaded Tommy gun.
He doesn't care about who he has to pulverize in order to get it. He's willing to pay the cost.
Yeah, if he wants it, he's going to get it. He did it yesterday. He's going to do it again. He doesn't even have to think about it. He's just...
it's good to meet a king.
And this is not a guy who, cares about his worldwide reputation, or here's a guy.
Yeah, he's not worried about his Yelp reviews. This is a guy, fuck it. It's not that we're losing fans. It's just our fans are becoming more selective.
You can somehow dissuade. We're going to take him off of Twitter. We're going to close down all the Russian accounts on Twitter. None of this is really going to matter. This is the guy who wants the Ukraine. Now,
I see. So the Ukraine, you mean you believe it's a territory that he actually owns. So you're using the Ukraine, not Ukraine, which is a country. And he wants it. And there's nothing we can do. He's going to take it because... What are we going to do? Take away his Twitter account? I mean, come on. What kind of a leader, what kind of a man gives a rat's ass if he loses his Twitter account. Am I right? What kind of I don't know. Can you imagine if the president of the United States got upset at losing his Twitter account? I mean, honestly, at least Putin's a real man.
The real question is why?
Yeah, that's the real question. No, it isn't. The real question is when. When's this going to end, and when's he getting the fuck out? His why is bullshit. We know what his why is, but let's hear what you think his why is so that you can excuse what he did and you know, I guess prolong the when.
What's in it for Putin? Why is it so important for this big grizzly bear Russia to crush this little puppy dog, let's say, called the Ukraine? Well,
called Ukraine. It's not called the Ukraine, except by the big grizzly bear, which isn't really a grizzly bear because its economy is smaller than California's. So and the bear is actually the state animal of California. It's on the flag. So smaller than that bear, anyways.
The political scientist John Mearsheimer has a theory about this, and I want to go into this theory in a little bit of depth. And
yes, that's why we come to you, Demes, for a little bit of depth. That's really, I mean, if anyone can be relied on to provide a little bit of depth, it's you.
Notice that in
Ask Debbie. Sorry.
I'm doing something that is really not common in our debate today. We don't have really much of a debate at all over foreign policy. I remember from the Reagan years and...
Foreign policy? The fuck are you talking about? First of all, we have all kinds of debate about foreign policy. See the Iran deal. You think we're lacking on debate about that in our current body politic? How about the Paris Accord, fucko? Or climate change? Or how about truckers? You think there's not debate going on? And you don't think in the House of Representatives, in the Senate, and in the Foreign Affairs Committee and all these other places, and in the White House itself, amongst people working there, even when Trump was in office, which seemed to be everybody who was like, yeah, we can't do that. And Trump going, why not? Can't we just steal it? There was debate going on. Of course there's debate going on.
Remember, too, competing theories about trying to understand the Soviet Union and a kind of vigorous debate, left and right, but also debate within the right about what type of sort of anti-communism, what strategies are most effective.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was a strategies of what kind of anti-communism. Do we want to just McCarthyism or thermonuclear war? I mean, I don't know. Why don't we'll just flip a coin like Chigger in No Country for Old Men. Choose the coin. Pick something. This coin traveled 22 years to be here.
We're getting very little of this. What we get is
it just happened, and we didn't do it. What do you mean debate? Fuck
off. Of party line from the kind of neoliberal left. We get a few exaggerated.
By the way, no fucking idea he has no idea what neoliberalism means.
Oh, Putin is the new Hitler.
He just means new and liberals. That's what he thinks. He thinks progressives are new liberals, therefore neoliberal. Fucking hell.
Things like that. But in terms of actual understanding of Ukraine and Putin, his motives, what he's after, right. Very little of that. Well, this is what...
Yes, there's very little discussion of people that actually understand what the fuck he's thinking, because none of it makes any sense. What does that have to do with the fucking debate about it?
I don't know.
Oh, hi. How are you? Love you. Hi. Chip was jumping on me. He wanted to be part of the show, so I had to close the door and put him out because he just needed to sleep here. And then, yeah, it was a thing. Yeah, love you.
John Mearsheimer comes in, and this is one of the leading students of the region and one of the leading thinkers of the so-called realist school. So the realist school...
Yeah, it's the realist schools. Yeah, he doesn't... he's not from the Picasso school of foreign affairs.
is based on the idea that, look, with a lot of countries, there are some countries with which ideology is paramount. And so, for example, you might have China, where they're teaching Marxism, Leninism in the schools, and ideology is important to them.
Yeah.
And also not to mention a justification for their centralized control. But there are other countries like Russia, which are kind of gangster regimes. Now, Russia and the old...
Yeah, and we wouldn't call that ideological any more than we would call the mob ideological. All right.
Days was an ideological state. But under Putin, it's not. It's basically, we're a big country. We've lost a lot of our power. We're trying to get it back. And we don't like pesky little dogs, if you will, barking at us in our grizzly bear's lair. That's basically...
Yeah, that's... come on, everybody gather around. Snuggle in. Demes is going to tell us a bedtime story. Yeah. How do we not get back down? Tell me the story about the big old bear and the little puppy live with him. He lives in the cave and he tried not to fart and wake him up again. It's the story of the big old bear, and he gives the puppy little scale, and then he eats him, shakes him, and kills all the puppies, and I don't want to hear the story anymore. It's scary.
The realist view. Now, what Mearsheimer says is that
John Mearsheimer, fucking Smith. His name is my name too, John Mearsheimer. Sorry. Okay.
Russia could live with a democratic Ukraine. They could care less whether Ukraine is democratic or not. What they do care about is whether Ukraine is hostile to Russia or not. That's what they care about. And
no. Because if the democracy aspect of it is the point of the hostility, what they can have is a functioning free democracy on their doorstep that's occupied by people that are just like Russians, because they're going to start asking uncomfortable questions, the kind that you and Bongino, who's looking for TP for his bunghole, cannot even fathom, which is, why can't we have that too? Why can we not be as free as they are?
According to Mearsheimer, the West has now for 25 years been feeding the Ukraine with what you can call dangerous illusions. So what's the danger?
Yeah, that's what it's been. We've been giving them the illusion that they should be allowed to be independent. By the way, the Russians also did that. You know how they did, Demes? They signed a treaty with NATO that said that independent countries have their sovereignty honored, and they can choose however they want to defend their country, including joining NATO.
Illusion. The dangerous illusion that kind of settled itself into sort of liberal, neoliberal elite circles after the end of the Cold War was the neoliberal. Yeah, just Leo nibblers. We don't need to think of the world in terms of realpolitik anymore. This is not a case of power politics being played out the way it did in the 18th or the 19th century. That was then, but this is now. We're now above all.
Oh, right, yeah. You mean time moves forward and things are different? So, like how the Democrats before 1964 were largely made up of the Dixiecrats, the Southern Democrats, and because of the Civil Rights Movement, there was a huge switch over, and basically the Republicans and the Democrats switched sides. And so while the Republicans were the anti-slavery party, they switched over to becoming the supporters of the slavery ideas and the idea of Southern heritage in defense of those Dixiecrats that became Republicans to give them power. And then Democrats moved closer to urban centers, big areas of population, because they believe in one person, one vote instead of land votes.
We're integrating the whole world into a kind of neoliberal order. It's going to be based upon democratic societies. It's going to be based upon trade. It's going to be based upon this idea that we are all inhabitants of the same interconnected planet. It's big.
Yeah, what kind of bullshit is that?
Kind of your World Economic Forum pablum. And
wait a minute. Sorry, what qualifies as World Economic Forum pablum?
Based upon this idea that we are all inhabitants of the same interconnected planet.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. What was the other one?
Integrating the whole world into a kind of neoliberal order. It's going to be based upon democratic societies. It's going to be
Ew. Democratic societies? What?
Based upon trade. It's going to
Trade? What? When? Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. I've switched over. I have to be pro-Putin now. Not democracies and trade. Dear God.
be based upon this idea that we are all inhabitants of the same interconnected planet.
Which is obviously not true because I don't know where Dinesh lives, but it's not on this fucking planet.
Basically kind of your World Economic Forum pablum. And the idea is that it's one thing to go to Davos and ski, and at the end of the day to mouth this kind of these kinds of slogans. It's a whole other thing to go to a little country which is sitting right next to a really big and dangerous country that is
Oh, you mean like Poland, Latvia, or Lithuania, those countries that are also sitting next to it, that are also free democracies that are engaged in trade with the EU? What the fuck makes Ukraine special? Oh, right. Russia wants resources. Get fucked, you clown.
honestly looking over its shoulder and tell Ukraine, hey, Ukraine, listen, you may be a little dog, but, you see that grizzly bear over there? Go bite him. Go bite him. Go snap.
How the fuck are they biting them? What are you talking about? Where's this analogy even come from? Yeah, Finland. Exactly. Yeah, Finland's basically just been towing the line of the big bear for a long time. They know at least not to kick it. Get the hell out of here.
Go snap at his ankles. Don't worry. You're part of the West, you see.
And also, how are they snapping at their ankles? Honestly. Where was what is his, where in the analogy did the Ukrainians snap at the ankles of Russia?
Part of this new democratic neoliberal order. You're the future. Putin's the past. So go get him. Go get him.
Which is true. But
We're behind you. And then Ukraine goes, okay, let's go get him. Let's go get him. And
what? Honest to God, this is a grown man. What the fuck? What is this? Yes, he's calling Ukraine a little dog. He's saying that the West got them all excited to go bite Russia.
And then the grizzly bear turns around, whop, and then suddenly the little dog turns around and goes, okay, where are all my friends? Where are all my allies? I thought all these people were going to come rescue me. Turns out no one's going to come rescue you. No.
First of all, yeah, we are. We're supplying them with arms and aid. The entire world is fucking behind them. We can't do a no-fly zone because they're not in NATO. But short of that, we're giving them a shit ton of stuff. We just gave them fighter jets, you fucking moron. What is this? What is this, like, children's hour? Christ, this is dumb. I'm shocked. I mean, I'm surprised. I guess I'm most surprised that the childish storyline about the little dog and the big bear went on this long and concluded with the fact that it was Ukraine's fault for biting Russia, and Russia turned around and walloped them back in, I guess, self-defense. Is that what this is? Is that what we're seeing, Dinesh? The blood on the streets, the shelling of nuclear facilities and apartment blocks, the gunning down of families trying to escape. That's just self-defense.
Is going to send troops. Nobody wants to fight on your behalf. You're on.
Yeah, they are. There's like 19,000 foreign fighters from the U.S. and Canada and other countries going in there to help fight. It's a country of 45 million people. They don't need soldiers. They need stuff, and we're sending stuff.
Own pal. So this is Mearsheimer's point. It is grossly.
Mearsheimer's an asshole, and he's talking as if 1997 didn't occur on the map or on the calendar. He's honestly, Mearsheimer and his ilk are all talking about the agreement during this while the Soviet Union, the USSR, still existed. And he's talking about a verbal agreement over Germany and the reunification of Germany in the fucking 80s and then into 1990. That part of it, like that's where he's stuck. That history did not move past that point. Never mind the fact that Why the fuck should Germany not be a whole country again and Berlin not be a whole city again? Simply, because we made a verbal agreement not to expand NATO before the USSR dissolved. And then after Russia became a country and was around for about 7 years, they signed an agreement that they were okay with Poland and Lithuania and all these other countries joining NATO, including Ukraine.
Responsible to go to a little country sitting on the edge of a big country. I mean,
First of all, it's not a little country. Lithuania is a little country. Moldova is a little country. Ukraine's not. Ukraine is fucking ginormous compared to a lot of European countries.
you can kind of understand this by flipping it around. Imagine,
let's just turn it around. Let's act as if this was, so Ukraine is in a short skirt and she's hanging out at a bar.
Right now, if China were to say, listen, we're going to make it our policy to cultivate very close ties with Mexico and Canada.
Oh, this fucking stupid analogy. No, this is not the same thing. Not at all. First of all, at no point, and by the way, this would be, you'd have to go back to prealamo, and the United States would have to be in the process. We would have had to, 10 years ago, attack Mexico and claimed land that we believed we should have gotten in the U.S. In the Mexican-American War. Just took some of it, and we were fighting for 8 years in an area outside of that to claim even more land. And then you could bring in your analogy that other countries come to Mexico's rescue. We're not doing any of that shit. And if we were, we wouldn't be the country we are. It'd be a whole different conversation.
That we can basically egg them on to confront the United States. Think of how we would feel about this. Think how we would respond. We would laugh.
If China and Russia were telling Mexico, psst, attack America, they go, why? We're trade partners with America. Because they're going to attack you. But, oh God, this
sense the grizzly,
analogy.
we'd be like, wait a minute, Canada? Really? The Canadians? Well, who's putting them up to it? The Canadians themselves are not capable of this. Oh, it's the Chinese, really? So the point is that big powers and strong powers get really nervous when in their very backyard, they're being provoked by external forces.
Yeah, that's what it is. External forces have been provoking Russia in this by... what? Not attacking after they took Crimea and Donbass?
Now, the United States, I concede, is stronger than Russia. Mearsheimer, I think, knows this too. But that applies to a straight-out confrontation.
By the way, citation needed.
You may say on neutral ground between the two parties. It's kind of like, yeah, I'm an MMA fighter, you're an MMA fighter, let's get in the ring. But what if we're not in the...
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy, Dinesh. I look at you and that's what I think.
What if we're talking about Russia's own backyard? What if we're talking about fighting not in the middle, but over there? Well,
that's right. Right. How good is my fighting in a ring if I don't have home court advantage? That's what Russia's finding out, fucko. They're the ones who went into Ukraine.
Much more difficult for us to conduct hostilities. Here is Adam Kinzinger. Let's establish a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Really? How? How are we going to do that? Are we going to send thousands of bombers over there and shoot down Russian MiGs? Shoot down Russian planes?
Okay, again, I haven't seen Kinzinger suggest that we have a no-fly zone. Is that something he really said? He's a Republican, so that he's not. I don't have any responsibility for sheepdogging their party. Let's see. Kinzinger, no-fly zone. Did he actually say that? Okay, so this is Washington Post. He posted this. This is on Kinzinger's site. Washington Post calls grow for a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Here's what it would mean. Where's the... okay. In an emotional scene, Adam Kinzinger called for one on Friday. A former NATO commander retired said its time has come. Philip Breedlove said that. Okay, so this is where he did it. Okay. One, the fate of Ukraine is being decided tonight, but also the fate of the West. Declare a no-fly zone over Ukraine at the invitation of their sovereign government. Disrupt Russia's air ops to give the heroic Ukrainians a fair fight. It's now or later. Now or later? It's now or later. Now, you mean now or never? Okay, well then we'll just stick with later. The fuck? 2, well, I guess this is later. 2, history teaches that taking a stand is inevitable and gets more costly with time. We own the sky. That's not true either, especially if somebody's punching themselves out. We own the skies. Russia cannot hold a candle to our air power. That's right, but we don't want to lose pilots for this particular reason and risk a nuclear confrontation. Do this. Putin is too dangerous to hope he's satisfied with just Ukraine. Nobody thinks that. Who has to call the no-fly zone over Ukraine? Why hasn't it happened yet? Yes. Thanks, Jonathan. Because it would be a horrifically bad idea. That's a terrible idea. And again, it's not a good, it's terrible. It's stupid. No. There are other ways to help them. We can provide them with surface-to-air missiles, for example, that will protect them from flyovers, from planes, and all that kind of stuff. But Russia is yet to be using any kind of giant bombers, and their pilots suck. Why waste the air power and risk ratcheting it up when they're not capable of doing this kind of damage? We're better off, and this, if you're going to do this on the DL, and I know Bongholio would not approve of me saying this out loud on the air, but the idea is you give them drones but that are for the Ukrainian military to use, and we fly them from here via satellite.
The Ukraine, the irresponsibility of this, the risk of starting World War III over a country we're not willing to send a single troop, a single man over.
No, that's not the point. The point is not we're going to risk World War III over a country we wouldn't send a soldier to. No, we're not sending soldiers there because of the risk of World War III. We don't want to. We give them other stuff. There are other ways to support them that is not us getting into this and turning a proxy fight into an actual fight. That's what it is. Ah, God, these guys are stupid.
To fight for is just shows, in a sense, the kind of recklessness, the unrealism
of the Republican Party,
the illusory nature of neoliberal rhetoric. And this, I think, is mere
neoliberal. That was Adam Kinzinger, fucko.
Point. Now, I don't agree with everything in Mearsheimer's analysis. He has an article. This actually came out years ago. And
yes, as is and his ideas are based on what happened in Donbass and Crimea at the time.
Predicted all this, where he says, quote, why the Ukraine crisis is the West's fault. Now, I wouldn't say that the Russian invasion of Ukraine is our fault. It's Putin's fault. He did it. He's responsible for it. But Mearsheimer...
Yeah, but we kind of made him. You know what I mean? We talked Ukraine into biting the bear, and the bear bit back. I mean, it's basically our fault. And the way we did that was by trading with them and supporting their democracy. Horrifying.
More subtle point is we sort of egged them on. We egged on the Ukraine.
Yeah, remember all the years of egging on that went on? I mean, I don't remember a week without a news story about, like, why hasn't Ukraine kicked Russia's ass yet?
And in that sense, we pushed this conflict forward. We made it more likely by telling the Ukraine what? Listen, you can be part of the EU. Listen, you can be part of NATO. We're this fighting alliance where we all hang together. We go get the Russians. And the Ukrainians are like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Is that what they did? For how long? Again, where's this cartoon? Where the fuck did this happen? Like, the initial trade that started up between the EU and Ukraine that happened a little bit under the Yanukovych regime, where he was hoping to kind of siphon a little off the top, and Putin had this idea, well, we'll just gut it from the inside, we'll steal a bunch of money from the EU, and then collapse the Ukrainian government, and then absorb the country after all these trade deals have been set up, all these pipelines and everything through it. We'll just keep it all for ourselves. Fell apart because the Euromaidan happened, and those people were like, hey, you can't, we understood there would be trade and jobs and all this other stuff, and here you are siphoning this shit out. The dude had a fucking, like, water slide in his house or some shit, like a 8-hole golf course through his giant palace. Like, it was ridiculous. Yanukovych was ripping them off. Then Poroshenko came in as kind of a mitigator in the middle, but a lot of the people that were in the government were still Russian sock puppets. And then eventually they got to Zelensky, because nothing like this happens overnight. And Russia was building up and seething to some degree as the Ukrainians were able to stand on their own and have a real democracy. That's, according to this asshole, that's us and Ukraine egging Russia on. Again, it's the short skirt mentality.
And now it is they, more than we, who have to face the firestorm.
That's it? That's the end? That's the whole fucking thing. I mean, okay. No, quit it. The brutal idiocy of this. And by the way, this is the talking point. This should come as no surprise. This is what the marching order language is in all these things. You're watching HAL, SPARKS, Mega Worldwide. They put these clips up. I go through the whole thing, even when it's aggravating and boring and they drag on, because I don't take people out of context. I don't want to do it, and it's aggravating. Yeah. So in the course of this, there is sometimes we'll do a needle drop if something's super long or whatever, but I don't edit around what people are saying. We see the whole thing in context as best we can if we ever grab like a bigger piece and don't have time for it. But I'll never like go, this one sentence, these two sentences. That's not what I do. In the process though, you notice a trend that happens. A lot of times we'll see talking points roll out on the right all together in this coordinated effort. And if you look at here, this is Glenn Beck's show. He put this clip up. How the West's stand against Putin and Russia isn't 100% pure. Now, I don't even know what the fuck that sentence is supposed to mean. Like the purity of our support for Ukraine is not an aspect, not an element of the question at all. You know what I mean? Like, that's like saying you shouldn't have been in that bar when the fight broke out and somebody pulled a gun and shot you. You shouldn't have been there. It was not 100% pure. You should have stayed home and stayed in bed. That kind of idea. Thanks, Nearly Possible. I flat ironed it today because Summer had the flat iron out. So I went for the Steve Perry. So, anyways, pure what? 100% egg? I think so. It's hard to tell who gets the 5 eggs today because there's a whole lot of stupid going around. But this is the title of this one. How the West stand against Putin and Russia isn't 100% pure. And this is, I mean, they're using this shit to just sell this. And this is the third clip we've seen today where, we got some skin and this is our fault. Here we go.
Justin Haskins is with me. He is the co-author of The Great Reset, which is
fucking hell. Which is a book I co-wrote with him. He's the co-author of the book that I co-wrote.
Available in stores everywhere. You can get the audio.
It isn't. It's not available in stores everywhere. I mean, I've been to a sex shop lately. I'm sure they have them there, but I was in a Home Depot. Couldn't find it.
Book. You can get the hard-bound book.
By the way, look who's on there. The head of the World Economic Forum, George Soros, and a giant Joe Biden. The Great Reset.
Everywhere you buy your books, get it.
No, that's not true. I've often bought books at places that only sell textbooks, for example, and they don't have it.
Now, before we run out again, we run out again. I'm just.
So what you're saying is they're printing short runs.
Anyway,
good problem to have, Glenn.
Shut up.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a good problem to have. They keep running out of books. Yeah. I mean, I used a couple to steady some tables. He fixed part of the fence wall out back with it,
Great Reset. The Great Reset available.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Vincent, for the super chat.
Where now, Justin, he is the editorial director of the Heartland Institute and editor-in-chief of StoppingSocialism.com. Hi, Justin. How are you?
Sorry, that's StoppingSocialism.com.
Oh, I'm doing well. I think we might be on the verge of World War III, but, other than that,
Yeah.
everything's fine.
Did you listen to hour one of this project
It's a World War III. Such a kick.
today yet?
I have not. It was hour
you
2, not hour
bastard.
1.
Okay, so hour one, I kind of
Have you not? You weren't listening to the show, to my show, your co-writer show. You don't wake up every day and fuck.
the warning, and I'd like to hear your view on it. I kind of gave a warning of, we're shivving ourselves while we're also kniving Russia.
Shivving and knife. So we didn't. We're using the real knife on them, and we had to make we had to sharpen a fucking toothbrush. Shivving ourselves.
And explained what's coming. And I really feel that this whole Russia-Ukraine thing,
Yeah.
to quote a very brilliant strategist, it's a trap.
Akbar wasn't a brilliant strategist.
And
That's why he didn't see it coming. If you're a brilliant strategist, in the middle of your strategy playing out, you don't have to yell, "It's a trap," as the trap is happening.
My favorite strategist, too.
I know.
Yeah.
And we're headed for real trouble. If you missed hour number one, go back and listen to it. It is
Yeah, pass.
vital if you want to be ahead of things, and please,
Yes, how could you be ahead of thermonuclear war?
if you have friends who are awake, tell them to listen to the podcast or to the show so they
Yes, so they can get some sleep. So a couple of minutes in, I was awake. I was up nervous. I was thinking about the end of the world. And then Glenn started talking, and there I go.
stay ahead. Things are moving rapidly. Justin,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I think that the more I learn about what's going on, and I felt this way throughout reading Alexander Dugin's book, the more convinced I am that there are no truly good sides here.
Yeah. It's basically America's fault as much as anybody's.
In a way, I think the people of Ukraine
In a way.
are fighting for their lives are heroes, without a doubt. But the Great Reset side is not the good guys.
No.
And Russia and Vladimir Putin, they're not the good guys either.
Yeah.
We're dealing.
Also, what the fuck is this assertion that this is happening because the Great Reset guys are warring against Vladimir Putin? So, and by the way, technically speaking, these motherfuckers didn't write a book with a red Vladimir Putin face on it. In the Great Reset versus Vladimir Putin, the Illuminati versus the Pentaverate version of events, they have chosen Putin as the good guy and the people behind the Great Reset as the true villains.
Lots of tyrants here.
So here's the thing that I think.
We're up to here with tyrants. You can always tell a tyrant. Like, they'll wear epithets. They'll wear epaulets even when they're not in the military. Oh.
People can understand this. They will get it. This is not an American issue. This is happening all over the world. For instance, the Chinese in Hong Kong. The people are the good ones. It's their government that is squashing everyone and controlling everyone.
Yes, the Hong Kong government is squashing and controlling everyone.
Same thing with Putin. The people are rising up. The people are rising up against him in Ukraine as well. The people in France are rising.
By the way, no, it's not the same thing. And they're not a wash in this situation. The people who are protesting in Russia are mighty and we're proud of them. But they are few in terms of the population. The Ukrainians are not rising up. They are fighting invaders in their own country. This is not a revolution. This is not even a rebellion. This is people defending their land. It's theirs. You don't rebel against your own country in this regard. You haven't they're being invaded. And the fuckers go like, the yellow jacket protests in France. Yeah, it's the same fucking
saying
thing.
there's too much control here.
truckers.
The people of Brexit did the same thing. The people of Canada, the people get it.
The people of Canada. And by people of Canada, he means 10% of 10% of truckers that were not vaccinated.
It's the elites that are all going for either international socialism, the Great Reset, or national socialism, Russia and China.
At least somebody noticed that the Nazis that are in Ukraine were put there by Russia, I suppose, the National Socialists.
That's what's really happening.
Right.
Yeah, dude, that's totally what's really happening. It's really international socialism. That's exactly what's happening. That's why Ukraine was being pulled into the EU for free market trade.
That's exactly right. That is the most important.
And no, it isn't. I mean, they co-wrote a book together, and he runs, antisocialism.com. So
thing for people to take away. And this has been going on for a long time to varying degrees, and it ebbs and flows. But you can.
Yeah. Oh, really? People have been pushing back against their government, and governments have been overreaching or being supportive, or tops of governments or systems of government have shifted. When did that shit start?
This all the way back to the 1800s. You can find debate.
Yeah, that's probably. I wouldn't go back any further than that. Before that, you really had governmental stability. Before the 1800s, I mean, it was pretty locked.
Socialist. The first big fight they had was, should we have national socialism, which ended up becoming fascism, like Nazism and Benito Mussolini in Italy and in Spain and elsewhere, or should we have international socialism? And that debate, to some extent, has continued on all the way to today. The arguments have...
No, it has not.
Changed a bit, but really what I think we're seeing...
The argument has changed a bit to not being that argument, so I can understand how people would think...
Today is a battle between elites, and the people are caught in the middle of that. And the elites are the international fascists, 21st century modern fascism, which is what we talk about in the Great Reset book, and then hardcore ultranationalist fascists who are focused.
Oh, okay. So hold on. I'm losing track of my fascists. Who are these?
Fascists, 21st century modern fascists.
Hold on.
Elites are the international fascists, 21st century modern fascism, which is what we talk about in the Great Reset book. And hardcore ultranationalist fascists who are focused on national fascism and building
a coalition of national fascism to connect countries in an international matrix, which are, those people are at war with the international fascists who don't believe that the nations exist, so they just want a general kind of a fascism-y kind of fucking hell. This is, it's gibberish day. It's just gibberish day. I'm giving it. 5 eggs. I don't know what we expected.
5 eggs in a month.
I don't know why.
A day. 5 eggs.
I don't know what the hell. We've watched 3 of these fucking videos and nothing has been said. Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, that's my question too. Are the lizard people okay? When do the alien greys tell us what we're here to do?
Of nations and peoples that agree with that model. Neither side is good, and the people are caught in the middle.
Right, because not.
Yeah, so the national fascists, the ultranational fascists, and the international fascists don't. If you're hitchhiking, don't let either one of them pick you up now.
Both sides will rule over the people, and they look at people as cogs, which, if we get into the book from Alexander Dugin, I would urge any real thinking person to read this book. If you don't.
By the way, Dugin is the root of like Putin's thinking about the borders of Russia being permanent, and we got to get back to that.
Understand the concepts we're talking about. Read my book, The Great Reset, first.
No, not going to happen. I'm not going to do that. I mean, I'm just getting into your diet book, and I've seen so much great change in my body and my waistline, and in my neck especially. That I'm not gonna speed read it. Normally I'll just whip through. I'll start speed reading something, Glenn. But and I think 100 pounds of KFC a week. I thought that's no way that's healthy, and yet I feel great. I mean, I do. My foot has turned a weird shade of blue, but I'm not going to let that stop me, Glenn, until I look like a Colonel Sanders joined the Territorial Army or the Foreign Legion in a 1940s film.
Because Dugin is very good at using language to try to get people scooped up into this.
Yeah, he's very good at it, whereas Glenn is not. And so his book won't do that.
This Russian movement, and it is extraordinarily dangerous. But he talks about it, and I was glad to see in the first couple of pages, he talks about his great awakening is all to fight the Great Reset, which, he lays out a pretty good case against the Great Reset. But his problem that he is also fighting is individualism. He believes we have to have a collective view. So,
Glenn, yeah, that's the point. You got the idea for the Great Reset fed to you by the very same people like Alexander Dugin and Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping who are anti-individualism. You are huffing your own farts philosophically.
It's where America breaks away from any of this stuff that Russia is pushing.
Yeah, that's the bridge too far. I mean, sure, strafe bombing citizens as they try to flee, that we're good with. But thank you, Alan.
Yes, that's really important to understand. I think it goes back to what we just talked about, where this is really a battle between elites with different collectivist minds.
That's right. Different collectivist mindsets. There's different kind of collectivists. There's the international collectivists, and then there's the national collectivists. Hey, man, I don't like these elites telling me what to do. I don't want you to let them. Glenn, tell them, man. Tell them. I don't want these elites telling me how to live, man.
And individualism is not, he kind of tries to make the argument that individualism has naturally led to things like the Great Reset. And I think that's completely ludicrous. That's not what has.
Yeah, that is completely ludicrous. That's why they only crib about 80% of his book in their book. Otherwise, they take an extra, all the rest of it. I think that's smart. I think anytime if you're like, look, I've had somebody do my homework for me. I ain't gonna lie. And sometimes I'll just go through, and I found myself occasionally attempting to read, but rereading what they gave me as supposedly what I was supposed to turn in, and I would look at it, and it's got all the potentials for an A, maybe a B minus, maybe a C. All I need is a D plus to pass. And I'll go through there with a red line. I'll go, that sounds like bullshit. That sounds like bullshit. That sounds like bullshit. And after a while, my investment in giving this fella a handful of pills to do my homework is flushed down the friggin' toilet, largely because I've been pulled over, but also because I crossed out all the smart points.
At all. And he acts as though there isn't any other option. It's either we're fascists or we're international fascists.
That's right. It's one kind of fascist. Otherwise, you're going to be slowish. I've been accused of being slowish in the past, and I am not. But I'm definitely not fascist. I'm middling-ish.
It's one or the other. We're fascists either way, national or international. Yeah. And he ignored.
That's right. And I like interstellar. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I was once picked up in a fascist UFO. And after a mild amount of anal probing, they decided to let me go. Because I guess I should have trimmed my nails.
There's this whole other group of people. The book is incredible.
Oh, I know there's a whole group of other people. A whole group of people.
Really insightful, but everyone who reads it needs to understand it's propaganda. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It is designed.
Yeah. Yeah, it ain't like Glenn's book, okay, which is called The Great Reset and has these kind of fascistic pictures on the front of it. It ain't like that. This is real propaganda. You know, Glenn's book is kind of like the coloring book of propaganda. It's like a pop-up book of propaganda. Like, do you believe this part? If the answer is no, turn the page. And then you turn the page and this gun unfolds. You point at your head. You know what? I do believe it. Okay, you can turn the next page. And then you get a half-eaten loaf of bread comes out.
To try to convince Republicans who lean towards Trump to join the side of Russia and China and Iran and Turkey. He specifically lays this out later in the book toward the very end, that this is the whole purpose of this.
And so this feller, in case you're getting lost, I know I am, and it's a normal state for me. In case you're getting lost and you don't understand, it's what this feller is saying is that he's trying to get these Republicans on board with this kind of thing because they naturally lean in that direction because their version of individualism is actually like 4 goose steps away from national fascism.
You guys have been screwed in America. They don't care about...
Well, not only in America. It happened once when I went over the border in El Paso, down in the West Texas town of El Paso. I got drunk and woke up with my pants on backwards. Did I sing that out loud?
Values in the heartland. We believe in nationalism. We believe in defending traditional values. And you need to join with us to stop.
Especially the tradition of national fascism. What? Hold on.
This international fascism movement, because if we don't join together, we're going to be overwhelmed by it. And humanity.
That's right. By the international fascists. So the national fascists that listen to Glenn's show need to sign up and get their decoder ring today.
Is at stake, not just our societies, but all of humanity, the definition of what it means to be a person, the definition of...
That's right. I'm going to have a pig heart and a well, I already have a chicken's brain. I mean, hey, you know, when you see them ads for medical experiments and you're like, $80 sounds pretty good right now.
Gender and the meaning of the purpose of sexuality, all of this stuff is caught up in this.
Oh, I know it, Bo. You don't have to tell me. The purpose of sexuality. Let me tell you what, I got a couple of plans of my own. I do get easily confused, though. And I have been known to they have a restraining order against me in the produce section of my local grocery.
As well. And it is really, in some parts, brilliantly written propaganda. In other parts...
Are we still talking about your book, The Great Reset? Okay.
Knows his hand a little too strong. But if you get to the end, if you read the whole book and you get to the end, it's very obvious that this is a tyrant who's writing this, advocating.
But enough about you, Glenn.
For essentially a world war.
No, I'd say he goes past that. But let me stop. Before we get there.
Wait a minute. Past a world war? An interstellar war? Well, we can't have that, because I'll never get a second date with that sexy alien lady. Moon River. Whew. Thank you, Doc. You ever served time?
I've
Every time he pulls his earlobe, you know he's about to pull some bullshit.
Really had conflicts this week because I have told people to read this book, and
a lot of them are like, a hard pass.
If I were a fascist, or if I didn't believe.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Let's see. If he was a fascist, hold on. If Glenn Beck was a fascist, let's see. Yeah, they had to be something on there. There he is. Yeah, man. If you was a fascist, you'd probably dress like that or something. You might even release a book get yourself an outfit. Dress up like that in front of one of your books. Look a little sunk in there. I mean, they definitely photoshopped it a little bit, but that's, I mean, you look like the world's chubbiest heroin addict. Yeah. Sorry, you were saying if you were a fascist, if I like sex games.
If in my audience, and I didn't believe in people that they could figure things out on themselves.
I'm not 100% sure people are real either. I've walked around a bunch of them, and I have my doubts.
Say, we should ban this book. Get rid of this book. Don't read this book. It's very, very dangerous because it's brilliant.
Brilliant. You're not talking about your book anymore. Sorry, I thought you were talking about your book. And when you said it was brilliant, I was like, oh, definitely not.
If you are going to control your own life, if the American experiment is to survive, you have to understand the most compelling case against the Great Reset. If you're going to...
So the most compelling... You have to understand the most compelling case against your book, which is put forward by a guy who is a proponent of the Great Reset, but he believes the conclusion of the Great Reset is the opposite of what you think the conclusion's going to be. And so you guys are fighting over the last chapter of the book. Okay, I got you.
You have to know what we're fighting. That's why the Great Reset is there, and that's why this book I'm recommending as well, because this is Putin's antidote to the Great Reset, but it's the same system of oppression.
That's right. They both fighting the same people. They's just coming at it from different directions. Putin is fighting it in a way that will murder a bunch of people, and Glenn is just hoping people will do themselves in.
Clothed differently.
Oh.
Yes. I think that this book, especially with...
Yeah. It's a beck in sheep's clothing.
You get towards the end and he starts talking about what he believes, what he and what other influential Russians in government believe is the best path forward, and how the only way really to stop the Great Reset. You begin to understand, especially in light of the fact that this book was only...
So I got you. So people fighting the Great Reset are fascists. Cool. All right. Please continue.
6 months ago or so, you begin to understand what Putin is doing in Ukraine a lot better. I actually do not think that Vladimir Putin has just lost his mind.
I agree.
And is just a crazy person.
No, this is totally sane. And it's a great strategy. I've never seen somebody fight a battle so fantastically. I mean, man, I mean, that's what soldiers are for.
And I don't believe that he is doing this for power or money just in and of itself, because this...
He's doing it for the oldest reason in the world. Sex. He's doing it for sex. That's what I think. I mean, if I think of all the dumb shit I've done that's on the equivalent of launching a land war right after the thaw in a neighboring country that has my soldiers outnumbered 10-1 and has the entire support of the rest of the world. The things that I've done that are the equivalent of that in my life, I've always done it for a piece of ass. I got to be honest with you. And it never works out. I end up in a shed with some sort of an infection, or I end up on the side of the road someplace trying to sell shoes just to find my way back to town. It's a long and winding road.
Any sense if he's trying to do it for...
That's a song by one of my favorite bands, the Beagles.
Or for money in and of themselves. I think this is about his legacy and the legacy of Russia.
Oh, I like a girl with a nice pair of legacies.
And about ushering in this whole new radical era of fascism, of national fascism. And I think he wants to be remembered as the sort of George Washington type figure that led the world.
Wait a minute. the George Washington of fascism. Am I to understand that he wants people to think of him as the George Washington of fascism? Now, who would have a thought like that and project it into the head of another person, that somebody would want to be the George Washington of fascism?
Yes.
I want to be the George Washington of fascism. No, that's wrong. I shouldn't have said that. We're in mixed company.
Yeah, that he imagined.
Yes. And if you please, I beg of you, listen.
Hey, man, never beg wearing epaulets. It's a bad look.
The first hour of this broadcast, get it on podcast, wherever you get your podcast. But
get it on. That's right. If you missed the first hour, I was getting it on. That's why I missed it.
Into the full hour of the first hour of this broadcast podcast today, because I go into the arguments of what we should be doing. And,
and what we should, and more important, what we should not be doing, and what we did see and what we not see.
Power mark, I'm establishing that we all have a price on the.
Well, speak for yourself. I mean, obviously, I've never had deep pockets, but I still have my honor, good sir. I ain't scrounging for candy bars and spare change for that kind of physical activity. You got to take me out for a nice dinner. I mean, drive through White Castle. Let's make this happen.
People, we all say, most of us say, we don't want troops over in Ukraine. So we've established a price, but then I give you a couple of other price tags that we are and will pay.
Oh, boy. Come on. Like the one Minnie Pearl's got on her hat.
And it's actually a higher price than sending our troops over.
There is no higher price than sending our young men and women to fight and die on a foreign land. Except what it costs to get Glenn to put out when Stu's had, his 3 sheets to the wind.
Please listen to that, because you're not going to get that.
I'm sorry. I don't want to disappoint you, but there's an old phrase around here. You might have heard it, Glenn. We say it around the holler sometimes. Fuck no.
Information anyplace else.
As my granddaddy used to say, when he was running from the federales, and somebody asked if that was his dog, he said, "I don't have time for that shit."
And I haven't finished reading it yet.
Oh, good. Well, at least that didn't stop you from talking about it. Man, I like the cut of your jib, buddy. I think nothing shows more class and character and intellect and good philosophy, man. Nothing's better than somebody who has the guts, the nerve to come on and talk about a book they ain't finished. I swear to Jesus. You guys, hey man, good. And to say that like well into the video so people didn't see it coming. Man, that's smart. That's smart. You don't want to roll in there, man. You don't want to roll in and go, "Hey, I ain't read this fucking thing, but let me tell you what's in it." Because people will tune out. They will tune out. I ain't shitting you. Wait till you near the end to spring that shit on everybody.
The Great Awakening versus the Great Reset by Alexander Dugin.
Yeah.
I haven't finished it yet. But when you say...
But, yeah. And by the way, don't let it bother you that we've all noticed that you were talking about how the argument's the same, but the solution's different, and you ain't even read the end. Damn, man. That's impressive.
Is looking for a world war. His real design on the books that he's written that I have read for the Russian people,
I read almost all of them, almost all the way through. And let me tell you what they really say.
He's talking about literal Armageddon. He is talking about the end of everything.
The end of everything is the only way to guarantee the kind of government he wants.
That is modern, bringing us back to the Stone Age.
Well, I'm fine with that. I mean, I haven't been stoned in a long time, but I would consider my early 20s the Stone Age, if you know what I'm saying.
So is he just presenting a world war here, or is he as apocalyptic as he is in his other books?
He the way he frames it in this book is, and remember, this is written for Americans.
By the way, I want to thank you, Justin, for doing the reading so Glenn don't have to. I mean, that is a service. You can make money doing that. I'd pay you myself, but I don't know that do you take Jerky card? That's the only credit card I have. It pays everything in Jerky.
Prominently. Okay. So he doesn't get quite as apocalyptic as he does in the other books. Instead, what he says is that this is going to...
Oh, wait a minute. So he's apocalyptic in the other books, but his newest one about this one that agrees and disagrees with you at the same time is not apocalyptic. Well, shit, what?
Lead to an imperial awakening, that's the words that he uses, where all of these different empires, nationalistic empires, will rise up. And will all be individually defenders of traditionalism in their own context. So Iran...
I see. Traditionalism in their own context. Like tribalism. Everybody will be wearing birds on their heads and dancing around, and all the Vikings will be beating sticks against trees trying to make the sprites come out, and Canadians will stop curling. All that stuff. Go back to the way things were.
Has its own traditionalism context, right? Like Sharia law.
Right.
And Russia has its own traditionalism, and China has its own traditionalism, and America...
Yeah, but it's all Sharia law, by the way. All of it is Sharia law. It's one version of Sharia or another.
Can be part of this too. You have your own thing, and we don't agree about everything, but you can have that as well. And so he sees...
Oh, that's nice. Look at that. They gonna have their big fascist regime, and they just it's just live and let live. That's nice.
Calls on Russia to lead the charge to ushering in this era of imperialism. That's the words that he's using.
But laissez-faire imperialism, and which is way better than international and national fascist lag wrestling every fucking time you turn around.
Totally insane, but he's suggesting that this is the way that we will awaken the world and prevent the Great Reset from taking hold.
Now, it's also important to know that he is trying to destroy the West. So when you read this and he's like, America, you can...
Yeah, you know what I mean? He is trying to destroy the West, just like everybody who's going, pushing this Great Reset horse shit.
Do this. Remember this, his goal is to destroy the West and reset everything in chaos and through...
That's right. Back to chaos and disorder. Chaos. He basically got the whole idea from that old Get Smart TV show. I saw that once in a motel. I almost got electrocuted. Never stand in a puzzle when you fucking around with rabbit ears.
Yes.
Especially if it is a puddle of your own making.
Correct? Yeah.
And he believes that we've all gone way off the track. And he starts right off.
We have.
Believe me, we have. See? Look, Glenn, you already agree with him again. And only nuclear Armageddon will straighten it all out. Thank God cooler heads are prevailing.
Saying individualism is the problem, right?
Right.
Individual rights is the problem. And we need to blow all of that up.
Yeah, so if you blow it back to chaos, the one thing it is, it'll be easier to control, because nothing is easier than forming a government out of chaos.
Realize that only if we have a strong man imposing traditional ideas can we get back to what the world should look like.
I can do it.
And he goes all the way back.
Hey man, I'm a strong man. I got hick muscles, man. I've been known to lift a wagon by myself. I once carried the front end of a busted pickup 6 blocks. Well, miles. Weeks. How long was it? Fuck. I don't remember. Anyways, I was real drunk. Anyways, it would have never got to town without me. That's all I'm saying.
Prior to the Protestant Reformation, and talks about how we went off the track even before that because the Protestant Reformation led to this concept of individual rights. He wants radical collectivism and traditionalism, not in a Marxist kind of way necessarily.
No.
But in...
No, I mean, not that kind of way. Not the kind that they've actually tried. It's a magic version. He's got his own Duggery version. He wants to be like the Duggars. You know, a human centipede version of a family tree.
A fascist way.
Yeah.
He really is a national...
Yeah. It is the church of go fuck yourself and mean it.
A fascist.
He says in other books he has said that the only problem with Hitler is he didn't go far enough. This program.
Oh, I can see why you read more of his books. Hey man, I gotta admit I don't do a shit ton of reading there, Glenn. But if I was flipping pages through and this dude was like, I don't think Hitler went far enough, I'd be like, I think I've run dry on this fella's ideas. You know what I mean? I mean, if I'm planning on playing a chess match against him, I might read it. But I think it's more like, you know, filling your head with garbage.
You know, in the coming weeks and months and however long we are on the air, this program will...
Yes, this might be the end. We might be listening to Glenn from the bunker, watching him sit there in his Andy Griffith outfit with his KFC face, eating pancake batter out of a Home Depot tub, just trying to stay alive, having iodine tablets to fight off the nuclear radiation so he doesn't get dick lumps while he's trying to repopulate the earth.
Rate them in from the boys. This program is not really designed, never has been, for people who just want to play politics.
No, definitely not. If you want to know anything about politics or like details about shit, this is not your show. This ain't what it's for, okay? You are barking up the wrong dog. Okay?
Is to talk about what's really going on.
That's what yes, while having a weird neo fucking halo around your head to give you the illusion of digital piety.
All kinds of ideas and look at things from all angles, but with...
Oh, boy, do we. That's right. You should see his microscope. That thing is dirty.
The understanding that you are smart enough to figure things out, that you will take this information and you will do your own homework. And
that's awfully sweet of you. Thanks for saying that, Glenn. Thanks for saying it. I know you don't mean it, but thanks for saying it.
We'll correct ourselves when we're wrong. I'm not ashamed to say.
Yeah, but luckily you won't have to, because we'll all be dead, blown up, and there'll be the end times and all that shit.
Make mistakes? Of course I make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah, but not like you do. I mean, you make some mistakes that are like, woo! Like, I've made the kind of mistake that gets you on penicillin 3 times in 2 weeks. And yet you always manage to outpace me.
We have to do our best. If you're really interested.
Well, and your best is just, you know, I have to say, it's like you're doing somebody else's worst. Your book is like the worst thing that guy ever read or wrote. Or both. Shit, both. You know what I mean? The book he wrote is like that. That guy's book is the worst, and your book is the best version of that worst. Congratulations.
In looking at what's really going on, and you have a Bill of Rights perspective. That's right. That's my base. God and the Bill of...
That's right. God and the Bill of Rights. That is his base, man. That is what he's shooting for. It's always been his kind of idea of what is good in the world, and he's got there's always something. Come on now.
Rights. If you have that perspective, you're at home.
I do.
And there's a lot of information that you will need that you won't get anyplace else. Justin.
That's true. There's a lot of information here I will not get anywhere else, except maybe if I happen to be rooting through a dumpster behind a veterinary clinic and I get pricked with a needle, some of the thoughts I have might line up in some way with something that has been said today. But short of that,
I'm going to go out on a place that
and out into the field, just wander, go on a walkabout, man.
my producers probably would say I shouldn't, but I.
Hold on. This is the control room. Glenn is going to DEFCON 5. Glenn is going to DEFCON 5. Hit that Glenn with a blow dart. We in the deep shit now.
Very concerned about the influence here in America. Because there are people who understand this. Donald Trump is not one of them. But Donald Trump uses the same kind of language, but that's just because he...
How dare you? Oh, I see what you mean. Donald Trump uses the same kind of language you do, like that guy uses the same language you do about the Great Reset. He just has different way of fixing it. You want to just sell shit and ride it like a pony, and Trump and this dude want to handle it by destroying the earth. And I mean, do we flip a coin?
Leaves in America. But advisors to him, who are no longer advisors, for instance, Steve Bannon, he knows Vladimir Dugin. He has signed treaties, or partnerships with Dugin.
Yeah, what's the difference?
In Europe. How dangerous is this to not understand what's really being said to the full extent by somebody who is a capital T traditionalist?
I'm sorry. I got a little bit lightheaded when that sentence was happening. I don't know what you fucking said, but I hope we find out.
Yeah, this is absolutely vital that people get this. It would be so easy to fall into this trap that Dugin is setting. And that's exactly why he wrote this book. The whole purpose of it.
That's right. Steve Bannon fell into the trap, but not Glenn Beck, man.
Propaganda to convince Americans to and I've been hearing from people who I've known for a very long time, really smart people who prior to this invasion, just prior to it, with Putin, we're saying pretty positive things about Putin. He wants to defend traditionalism and he wants to do that. Yeah, but that's a ploy. What is he really all about? What are these people really?
Yeah, because that's right. Tell them, man, because there's a lot of these dudes who pretend they're pushing traditional values when in reality, they's a bunch of fascist, violent dickheads who... Wait a minute. Hang on.
Mentally all about. And that's why if you're going to read this book, you got to read it all the way to the end. Because what you really...
Yeah, Glenn. He's calling you out. Tell him, Justin. Fucking hell, man.
Is that, yes, he's right about many of the problems with the Great Reset. No doubt about it. He gets a lot of that stuff right. But what's his solution?
That's right.
So his solution...
That's right. Boom. That's right.
Another form of tyranny, and that's the problem.
So, Justin Haskins, co-author of my book, The Great Reset, thanks for being on with us. I will tell you, in reading it...
Good get, by the way, Glenn. I don't know how you got that guy. He is really busy. He's got a lot of stuff that he's got to do. And, man, you are just... what a winning interview, man. How do you even do that? I mean, and the fact that you managed to have him on like 4 times a week.
Tonight, my thought was, same problems happened in the 1920s and 1930s. And people said, Hitler's got a... Yeah. Remember, Hitler was Time Magazine's Man of the Year in 1938 in a positive light. People said, he's got answers and they're good. No, read his book. He also...
Now, I'm not reading Hitler's book either. What the fuck is the matter with you? I've seen shit about Hitler. I get it. Fuck that dude.
Has some significant problems. That's what
Justin said about you.
Book is. This book is The Modern Era Mein Kampf.
Oh, well, in case you missed it, that's Glenn Beck. Hold on. In case you missed it, that's Glenn Beck telling all of us to read the modern era Mein Kampf. Cool. Great. Just fabulous. I'm so glad. All right, I'm running out of time, and yet I have so much shit to cover. Geesh. How am I ever going to get all this stuff? Oh, wait, here we go. Let's do a needle drop. This is Jimmy Dore. He's live right now.
Fired to the fighting.
Well, Jimmy, let me say one thing. This demand from...
By the way, that's Aaron Mate, and this demand that they're reading out, this is, hold on, let me see will it let me go back? He doesn't let you go back. He only lets you pause, because he doesn't want you to, theirs is that Ukraine never joined NATO. That's the whole thing.
To have autonomy.
Right.
And in exchange, they would demilitarize. So Russia, up until basically last week or 2 weeks ago, was not demanding that Ukraine recognize these republics as being independent. Russia was supporting these republics staying a part of Ukraine, just as long as they had some limited.
The fuck they were? They were feeding arms into them. This was leading up to that. Look, Russia was supporting the idea that you have a house. They were not suggesting that you recognize that 2 of their crew had climbed in through your bedroom window. And until they did, the fact that they came in through the front door and the back door at the same time and started breaking everything, is really your fault for not opening the front door.
Far right in Ukraine that was refusing to recognize to implement the Minsk Accords, which it signed on to in 2015.
Yeah, and Russia signed on to the 97 agreement with NATO that any country that wants to join can. Fuck off. This is nonsense. And the Minsk Accord was a barrel of a gun peace agreement where Russia was claiming Crimea and Donbass.
Russia's demands for neutrality.
Zelensky is once again demonstrating that he is a puppet of the U.S. NATO by rejecting Russia's demand for neutrality and demilitarization. This is Danny Haifong. So what? Fuck you. These were expressed well before the intervention, and there's reason to believe Russia won't cease hostilities if they were met. What? These were expressed well before the intervention, and there's, what? No reason to believe Russia wouldn't... yeah. Guys, all they have to do is nothing for their security, demilitarize, change their entire government, let Russia dictate what they do with their country and their borders, and they'll leave them alone. Look at the look on this asshole's face. And all he is doing is bringing on Aaron Mate and Haifong and fucking Max Blumenthal and going, look, Ukraine brought this on themselves.
And
fucking...
Because he's going to tell them the truth about Ukraine right now. And
oh, by the way, he's playing this Fox News with this general who's like, Ukraine needs to roll over. They're never going to win. They need to lay down their arms and just take the rape. That's what this is. Fucking hell.
10 days, this should be completely over.
Yeah, we've all seen this clip. They're playing this. This is awful and in no way indicative of something worth... This is just gross. Fucking him. I'm going to get so mad. So let's just go to this bit right here. We'll do this little piece right here. I'll go a little bit over, but yeah, here we go.
Joins us now. This is his first live interview since that resignation on the eve of the release.
And by the way, I think this is the first time I've ever seen a marshmallow actually be interviewed on national television.
Of his new book, One Damn Thing After Another. Attorney General Barr, good morning.
Memoirs of an Attorney General. He wasn't an attorney general. He was a lapdog for Trump. He carried the water, and then he was like, oh, no, you're not going to fuck up my legacy.
Good to have you here.
Good morning, Savannah.
Well, I'll start with this. We got to...
Good morning, Savannah. I want to apologize for eating your intern before we came out here, Savannah. By the way, my 4-page summation of the Mueller report was only categorically and technically a lie.
Three-page single-space letter from President Trump about your book. This was in response to questions that NBC posed. I can't read the whole thing, but it's mostly personal insults. He called you slow and lethargic. He said you were so lazy and cowardly. He just never quite understood what was going on. He didn't want to stand up to the radical left Democrats because he thought the repercussions.
By the way, the best people. He didn't like the first guy he hired, so he hired this guy. So, again, was it just me? Was I huffing paint for 2 fucking years? Or did Trump run on the idea that we have stupid people running things and this asshole is, I guess, in some ways, you know what, stop fucking around. I'm sick of this shit. Dude ran for 2 years on hashtag the best people. I know the best fucking people. I know the best people. And then this asshole comes on for some sort of cupcake interview. Well, he's not going to goddamn get one.
Personally, in the form of impeachment
bastard.
would be too severe. In other words, Bill Barr was a coward. All right, here's the guy you came out of private.
Well, hold on. Dude's got a point there. He worked for a coward, company you keep, being what it is, that kind of shit. And he didn't do what he had to do when he had to do it.
Life to help someone you stuck your neck out for. Do you have any reaction to that?
It's part
Wait a minute. Fuck off. Here's my question.
of the court.
What neck? Lady, I mean, come on. You can't ask this dude, I'd just stick your neck out. What? Neck? What neck? What are you talking about? I don't see a neck. Do you see a neck? I see a head oozing into a suit. I'm salty cupcake. I'm Bill O'Reilly's worst nightmare.
I mean, the president is a man who, when he's told something he doesn't want to
hang on. Citation needed.
hear, he immediately throws a tantrum and attacks the person personally. So I thought the letter was childish.
You don't pull any.
Here's a good idea. Hey, dum-dum, I got a great idea. Why don't you write a 4-page summary of the letter that makes it look like he liked you? Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, just make a shorter version of the fucking letter where, everything about you is great. And at no point are you a coward. Just take the word coward out, like collusion. You can just pretend that word wasn't in there.
In this book either. Your book really details the good, the bad, and the ugly of working for this president.
I think good has to be in air quotes. I'm with you on bad and ugly, though.
And you conclude with a pretty damning...
And by the way, did both of you fucking leg wrestle to decide who was bad and who was ugly? Today, I want to be bad. No, I want to be bad. I want to be ugly. And it just wrestle, or was there like a calendar? Did you have an aide do it?
So to speak, I'll read some of it. In the final months of his administration, Trump cared only about one thing, himself. Country and principle took second.
Yeah, kind of like the rest of his fucking presidency. Dude, the sales pitch is not the reality.
And you go on to say he has no concern with ideology or political principle. His motive is revenge, and it is entirely personal. Why was it important?
Yeah, and that's why he hired you, you fucking marshmallow.
For you to tell that truth.
Well, I was pretty content.
Well, I was broke, Savannah. I was fucking broke. And no one's going to ever hire me again to be anywhere near a legal decision, which is the entirety of my fucking career. So this book is my retirement plan. I'm cashing in on hell, you dippy broad. That's why.
The administration up until the election, I supported his policies. He was always hard to work with and resistant to advice, but you could usually...
Yeah, but you could count on him to do the worst thing ever, and that's why I was there. I supported the shit. I just didn't like it smeared on me.
Things on track, but after the election, he went off the rails. He wouldn't listen to anybody except...
Yeah, that's when...
A little coterie of sycophants who were telling him what he wanted to hear, and I...
Yeah, and you can't blame the fucking guy. That's the first time that's happened to him in his entire fucking life. If you take out the years he was dancing with Epstein,
He did a lot of damage after the election, both with this idea that the election was stolen and also by him sort of rallying this group on the Capitol Hill, where the clear purpose.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with what you're talking about. You mean the part where he got his supporters to beat cops?
Was to intimidate the vice president in Congress.
Oh, that's right. I see. They were there to intimidate the vice president, shouting for his public hanging. You know, it's intimidating. That's what hey, that's a little intimidating. Yelling for my neck.
Go any further for those who say, oh, here comes Bill Barr. This is a rehab tour. He's rehabilitating his image. It's a day late, $1 short. It's revision.
Well, he does look like he's addicted to people like me. I swear to God. If I wasn't in another room, I wouldn't feel safe. I'd need some big heavies around to make sure this bastard didn't just chuck me down his gullet.
History with a lawyerly flair, you say.
Well, people who know me know I don't really care what people think about me.
Yeah, you do, or you wouldn't have written a fucking book.
I think that's one of the reasons I was persuaded to take the Attorney General job, because...
Yes, because I was willing to do things that anyone else wouldn't risk their reputation on. But since I'm such a shitty human, I don't have a reputation. I'm known as a toady. I'm known as somebody who skirts the law just to let people climb over everybody else. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm not worried about what people think about me, because the people that I'm concerned about aren't really fucking people. They're monsters. That's the people I like.
I wasn't looking for anything. I don't have a future career. I'm retired. And
well, that's definitely true. You do not have a future career.
I felt I could just call him as I see him. And anyone who tries to win the approval of others is going to be compromised very quickly.
Well, let's call it as you...
No, it isn't. You can win the approval of others by doing something good. You're not seeking it, you're just doing it. You do the right thing and people will approve. You don't do the wrong thing just so you don't look like you're seeking the approval of people.
On election fraud. President Trump in this letter says you failed to investigate election fraud despite, quote, massive amounts of evidence. In point of fact...
Yeah, but Savannah, in his defense, Trump kept bringing fast food to the White House.
Investigate once and for all,
like rows of fish delights. How the fuck you got? And that's a lot of numbers and pages and reading and dealing with Sidney Powell, which will make you lose your appetite. God damn it.
Did the president lose the election, or was it stolen or rigged by massive fraud?
Well, stolen and rigged are two different things, but there was no stealing of the election through fraud, which means, that.
Oh, so it was rigged. Brave stance, asshole.
Who were not qualified to vote or didn't exist, their votes were counted, or that good votes were subtracted. The votes reflected the...
Well, there were some, actually. I don't know. Technically speaking, I don't want to interrupt here, but whatever. There were a bunch of votes that weren't counted that should have been. They were all for Biden.
Of the people. You can talk all you want about, the playing field and the gaming of the system. And there were some things that have to be looked into, like the Facebook payments. But that does not mean that the
Facebook payments. You mean the rubles in 2016?
Was stolen, or that those...
I'm sorry. I should have brought that up. That was in the Mueller report, which you didn't want anyone to read.
Votes were invalid. There simply was no evidence of that.
Polls show most Republicans believe the big lie. Only 21% of Republicans believe Biden was legitimately elected. You have an opportunity to address.
Yeah, but in their defense, a lot of people aren't calling themselves Republicans anymore. That number has shrunk a lot. And so it's what's a percentage of true believers hanging and hangers on?
You may have some credibility with them. How would you explain? How do you know this election was not stolen via fraud and that Trump lost it legitimately?
Well, first, all the examples that were thrown up very early were, vaporware. There was nothing to them. They were just false. For example,
they were just vaporware, farts. That's what he means by vaporware. Just for the record, just in case you're wondering. Just saying that's the technical term for vaporware.
One that the president repeated recently, saying that more people voted in Philadelphia than there were voters. Nonsense. It was nonsense. Second, no evidence is.
Yes, nonsense. The Donald Trump story.
Out since then. But third, you look at the vote, the actual vote, and there's no mystery as to why he lost. He lost for the reason he was told for a whole year he was going to lose, which is he
sucks.
Alienated independent and Republican voters in the suburbs. That's why he lost.
Right. Let me talk to you about something you write in your book. That you say that you actually confronted the president on December 1st with this and told him point blank in no uncertain terms that you had looked at the fraud allegations.
Sorry, everybody. I had a little vaporware stored up.
There was nothing to them. Can you tell me about that conversation?
Yes.
Tell us. Let's hear it.
I felt I had to.
Just say it. Fucking spit it out. Oh, he looks so cute when he's sleeping, though. Jesus Christ, it's a shame Jonathan Winters isn't alive, because in the Adam McKay comedy about this fucking bullshit time we all live in, he'd be the perfect casting. God damn it.
Address these claims.
Is John Goodman available?
After I looked into them and sort of got sure of the facts, I talked to the AP reporter, and he asked me about it, and I told him. And the president was livid and called me in to the Oval Office, which I knew he would do.
Which, by the way, is a code for the executive washroom in the residency. You do not want to get called into there.
We met in this little dining room in the rear, and
yeah, that's it. Never take a meeting with Trump in the rear. People have made that mistake before.
I told him that what he was saying was BS, and that there was no basis for it, and he was livid. And long story short, I said, look, you're disappointed with...
Sorry, say he was livid again. I got it. I chubbed slightly at his misery.
I'm perfectly content to resign, and he said accept it. So,
well, after that December 1st meeting, and when you told,
he keeps telling this fucking story, and I was like, because you knew he lost. I want to resign because you know nobody's going to keep you on, you creep.
President, it was BS. You then went out with Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State, and you wrote in your book,
I didn't realize you guys dated. That's sweet. I can see that, though, you know, you kind of favor. Like, if I saw you guys walking down the street, I think you were a couple.
Trump had taken a dangerous turn since the election. It had always been difficult to keep him on track. You had to put up with endless complaining and exercise a superhuman level of patience, but it could be done. After the election, he was beyond restraint. Why didn't you speak out more forcefully, right?
I know. Ask me. Because he's a fucking coward.
In there, having told the president it's BS. Why didn't you say more right then and there to the American people about it?
Why not?
Well,
say it.
I did, as a member of the cabinet, say that to the press, and that was invoked all the way across the country that I was taking that position. And then on the press conference on the 22nd of December, my last full day at the department, I held a press conference and I reiterated it.
You said there's no...
Yeah, you said there's no evidence. You didn't tell everybody what a fucking lunatic he was.
Evidence of widespread fraud. You didn't say, I think the president is dangerous. In fact, in your resignation letter, you wrote, I appreciate the opportunity to update you this afternoon on the department's review of voter fraud allegations. Now, here you know the claims are BS.
Yeah, but Savannah, I mean, come on. Come on, think about it. No one in history is going to take a copy of his letter and a copy of his book and put them together for the record and make people go, oh, in context, what a fucking asshole.
Words, not mine. Why wouldn't you have said something? How do you write a letter like that leaves the impression that there might be something there?
Well, as you remember,
Savannah, pile of fish delights. That's all I'm going to say.
There was basically an allegation du jour. I mean, it was like playing whack-a-mole. And, you know, there were questions being raised.
Yeah, but does that letter really reflect the spirit of what you knew to be true? It's dangerous and it's BS.
Well, I didn't say he was. I said he was acting in a dangerous way because he.
Yeah, you know, some people act in a dangerous way. Some people are dangerous. If they stop acting in a dangerous way, are they really dangerous until they start acting in a dangerous way again? And aren't those moments in between actual danger not danger at all, Savannah?
He was not listening to advice from his advisors. And in the past, you could...
Yeah, he was. He just had his fucking advisor was Mike Pillow and Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood, the porch preacher Elvis wannabe, sport fucking his way through blue hairs across the Southland.
Keep things on track, and now I felt he was sort of off the rails.
Yeah, and you write in this letter, this resignation letter.
Yeah. In that letter, nothing about him being off the rails while he was president of the fucking United States.
I am proud to have played a role in your many successes. You go on to say your record is all the more historic because you accomplished it in the face of relentless, implacable resistance.
Yeah.
Even if you felt that way.
Yes, implacable resistance against you trying to deny javelins to Ukraine in a thing that will look historically like strange timing.
This is somebody you told Mike Pompeo he's dangerous. You say in your book you were worried about the peaceful transition of power. You even had national security concerns that you voice in your book. None of this is present in this resignation.
No, it's a hand job.
Didn't the American people deserve to know what you knew?
Well,
if they knew then, they could have done something about it. And that's not the point, Savannah. The whole point is to let things play out, slow them down so they accomplish nothing, and then make money off them afterwards. Think about it.
You know, I think on December 14th, that's when the states certified the vote. And that's
right.
The day I tendered my resignation. The election was over for all intents and purposes.
Along with your time at the DOJ, and you knew it, and you wanted to get out so you'd have time to write a book.
The idea that something could be done later on January 6th was nonsense. And once the election was locked in on December 14th, I tendered my...
But by getting out, you allowed him to put in a lunatic and keep punching at this bullshit.
Resignation. And I knew Trump was, going to be leaving office.
Let's talk about January 6th. You write that Trump orchestrated the mob. He was not ultimately successful in overturning the election, but do you believe that was his aim, to intimidate and pressure Congress?
Yeah, I think that the aim was to...
Gee, whatever gave you that idea? What a keen legal mind.
Was to pressure Congress and to pressure the vice president.
Right,
and I said...
I'm coming back to me just because, this is getting into serious territory.
Regardless of whether laws were broken, regardless of that, it was a shameful thing because
they were, not regardless, on top of the fact that laws were broken, it was a shameful thing.
Branch of government shouldn't be trying to use a mob to pressure another branch of government.
You said to the Chicago...
Really? You sure? No wonder he wrote such a terse letter.
Before the election, you know how liberals project all this BS about how the president is going to stay in office and seize power. They're creating an incendiary situation. Did you underestimate the length that the president was willing to go to?
Yes.
You did?
Well, I was surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was a
Really? You don't look like a guy who could be easily caught off guard by his own impulses, much less the impulses of others.
Because there was no substance to it. There was no legal support for it.
In the few moments we have, we cannot get into the Russia investigation completely. But let me ask you this. You decided when Robert Mueller chose not to analyze whether there was criminality on obstruction, you decided, I'm Attorney General, I'm going to make the decision.
Yeah, is that what he decided? Or did you, because the question, Savannah, and she's doing great, by the way, is did you play any part in his decision to not investigate certain areas? Did you cut off his ability to look into certain areas? Did Jeff Sessions or anybody else who was in charge limit the scope of the Mueller investigation in a way that affected their ultimate decision?
Now, why did you do that when the whole point of the special counsel was to take it out of the political chain of command and to remove either the conflict or appearance of conflict? And you acknowledge in the book you thought it was a phony scandal. So You took that decision upon yourself. Why did you do that?
Well, it is a phony scandal, and people, in talking about the big lie after the election, forget that there was a big lie, at the beginning.
Be
of
that
the
as
Trump
it may, I'm more
administration.
focused on the issue of your attorney general. You believe it to be a phony scandal before you even had any facts, and the special counsel is appointed to take it out of the political arm.
He found the facts, and he did it as a special counsel.
Yeah.
He used, working for the attorney general, by the way, and he used the compulsory power.
No. Working under the attorney general, maybe. Working for the American people. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Grand juries and so forth to extract evidence. That process is permitted precisely to make a decision.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You could have said, Mueller, I don't like your approach. You did this investigation. You make the decision. You could have ordered him to do that, couldn't you? Instead of taking it upon yourself.
But he indicated he did not want to make that decision.
But you could have said,
Oh, yeah, he didn't want to make that decision because it wasn't his job to make it. So you decided to make the most draconian decision you could possibly make.
it's better if I don't. I'm the attorney general. I've got, I want to protect the Department of Justice and its reputation for impartiality. You could have told him.
Oh, you. That's adorable.
You make the decision.
That's another area where it's critical of Bob. I'm not sure it was that impartial when you go back and look at the way it was handled. The reason he was selected by Rod Rosenstein was to give the appearance that there was no partisanship, and then he went out and hired a lot of partisan Democrats. And so,
I'm sorry, he hired a lot of qualified people. It's not his fault that there are a lot of unqualified Republicans in the legal field running around Washington that aren't trustworthy.
The country didn't have confidence in what was going on.
After the Russia affair was over and the
And I did, yes, and the country didn't have confidence. And I did everything I could to undermine that confidence at every turn.
Testimony was complete. You write about getting together in your office. You said, we felt we had finally put Russiagate behind us and behind the president. I brought out my tray of single malts, and soon the sound of hearty laughter and clinking glasses filled the air. It felt like a great weight had been taken off our shoulders. Now the president...
Oh, my fucking God. It sounds like a smoke-filled room party. It sounds like all that bullshit about the deep state protecting the administration and all that stuff that they all clamor about whenever they're on Fox News. It sounds exactly like that. We smoked cigars and laughed together, how we had subverted justice yet again.
Focus on his positive agenda. Now, this does not sound like the independent attorney general you say that you were in this decision making.
Well, that was during the summer.
It was in July after
long after I made the decision when he was testifying.
Yes, but do you see why somebody sees that?
No,
that sounds like a defense lawyer's party.
Well, I don't think so. I think the department.
Yeah, I don't think so. That's why I'm the guy who told George H.W. Bush to file papers to get his diary removed so that he wouldn't get implicated in the Iran-Contra affair, because the only evidence of what was in there was his diary, and so I worked to get that held out of the investigation to protect him, and I'm the kind of guy who did that. That's why I got hired to do this, and it did the same job again. Basically was the lawyer for the president, not for the citizenry.
Worked very hard on this, and I had certainly taken a lot of guff about it. It was a lie. It was a lie which the media pushed. It was a feeding frenzy that hobbled the administration and was unfair to the president, and I dealt with it accordingly.
Finally, you say in your book it's time for the party to move on from Trump. Liz Cheney has said he is not fit to serve and should not be ever near the Oval Office again. Do you agree with that?
Well, I certainly have made it clear I don't think he should be our nominee, and I'm going to, support somebody else for the nomination.
But if he is the nominee and you have your choice is Donald Trump or whoever's running on the Democratic side, would you vote for him?
Because I believe that the greatest threat to the country is the progressive agenda being pushed by the Democratic Party. It's inconceivable to me that I wouldn't vote for the Republican nominee.
So,
yes, the progressive agenda of, the American Rescue Package, rural broadband, infrastructure, paid child leave. that kind of stuff. Stuff that allegedly Trump and Ivanka were working on hard. If Biden gets that through, it's the end of America. So better to have the guy who fomented a violent attack on the Capitol than somebody who might actually get charging stations everywhere.
Even if he lied about the election and threatened democracy, as you write in your book,
it's
better than a Democrat.
It's hard to project what the facts are going to turn out to be 3 years hence, but as of now, it's hard for me to conceive that I wouldn't vote for the Republican nominee.
All right. William Barr, always good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Once again, the book is called One.
Oh, God. No. Sorry. You don't get to do the pitch. Sorry. Good Lord. Just... hold on one second.
Somebody gave him the janky.
Oh, by the way, Jimmy is attacking TYT now, and they have the Jenke Award, which is, I guess, a clown Oscar that looks like Cenk Uygur. OWS Ellie living in an age of war porn imperialism. That's the argument there.
Has an audience and people value his opinion. You had one job, bro. I'm
strict to the labor secretary for the president of past NAFTA has an audience of people have. Oh, replying to Robert Reich. I see. So he's attacking Robert Reich. So let's just be clear who Jimmy Dore thinks the enemy is right now. So far, the Ukrainian people, the Nazi Jew Vladimir Zelensky, the EU, NATO, the Red Cross, Amnesty International, anybody helping the refugees, because this is part of the goading of Russia. NPR, all mainstream media, the Young Turks. I don't know where he stands on Democracy Now! At this point. But he probably thinks they're owned by Raytheon. Let's see. Who else? Oh, and Robert Reich. Yeah.
Inside Ukraine. And again, you don't have to support Russia's invasion to point out that it's true that the U.S. has been propping up a government in Ukraine that it helped install with a coup in 2014.
Jesus Christ, they keep pushing this. It's bullshit. The U.S. did not foment a coup in 2014. It's nonsense. And when they have a functioning democracy now, they're never, you watch how these assholes never argue that Zelensky is not a legitimately elected dude and that he means well for the country and he's a good president and all those things, because they'd have to recognize that the coup against Yanukovych that was that was created by the people, by the uprising, is a legit act of the people regaining their democracy from Russia's puppet hand. This bullshit about the 2014 thing, fucking hell, they're never going to let that shit go. It's bizarre. And by the way, here's Jimmy's chat. $100, $50, $5. Love you, Aaron. Mate is Tay. Dead game. Thank you, Aaron. Reich seems sketchy still. He's Jewish. Probably a Nazi. Azov Reich, they call him. So Robert Reich is Azov Reich. The sun rises from the east and sets on the west. That's the Nameless Warrior. And by the way, a bunch of these are puppet accounts just paying for Jimmy's show. Obama also runs the U.S. government. Robert Judas Reich, betrayer of the working class. Let's see. You've been great on Useful Idiots. That's the show. In general, he is. I mean, it's ironically named, but yet still. U.S. never this shocked since Sputnik. Katie is a Dem operative. Kurt is asleep. Ghislaine Maxwell, don't forget. Or whatever. Say no to World War III. Sure. Hey, finally, something we can agree on. What happened to Fauci? Right, that whole thing. Robert Reich should travel to Ukraine, say hello to some Azov people. Yeah, that's, by the way, they're just pushing the idea that the Azov brigade is the Ukrainian government, even though they were put there by the Russians.
Maddow tactics to smear Ukrainian.
Oh, I forgot. Yes, Rachel Maddow is evil.
People aren't afraid to speak the truth. Keep going, Jimmy. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything over here.
Oh, she's reading super chats. That's what she's doing.
Hold on. Let's go here.
Oh, we're holding. This is a needle drop. I'm not doing this whole show.
Christy Knight said, ask Native Americans what U.S. oil is soaked in. Bam. I'm going to read it again.
Bam. You live here. You live on that soil. What are you talking about? What U.S. oil is soaked in. So every, post the creation of the United States in 1776, every immigrant who has come here is basically just living off a carcass, and that makes them evil. So immigrants are the worst people in the world. It's one thing to be the imperialistic group that came over here, the Quakers, the Shakers, the Pilgrims who came over here and started this whole thing rolling and made their way through and fought with Indians and took land and yada yada. But the immigrants that came later who just live on it, who like, what are they doing? What's the position here on Jimmy's show? That immigrants are basically like vegans that live off of jerky made by a hunter. I don't hunt, but I'll eat off whatever you kill. Because I don't want to, morally, I want to be in the right. I don't know what the fuck the argument is. Bam! Forced to release this data on a federal judge list of deadly adverse reactions. No one is finally breathtaking. They knew Pfizer data submitted FDA against 8 pages, known side effects. Are you kidding me? You ever looked at the back of a box of shit? They have to legally put every possible variation in there.
And that made me start looking into things surrounding the COVID narrative coming from the establishment, and everything I looked at.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Like, at this point, I'm out of time. I wanted to do the Levin thing, but I at this point, I don't give a fuck about Levin. It's just not going to...
You've asked me all kinds of questions about my living Atkins. Here's a question for you. How are you feeling? Because who isn't a little more focused on her health these days? All the more reason I'm all in on Atkins. Not the Atkins diet, the Atkins life. Great food that's rich in healthy protein, not a ton of carbs or sugars. Feels good. And when you're feeling good on the inside,
you gotta eat it on a beat.
It starts to show on the outside. Go to Atkins.com to learn more. All free, nothing to join.
I'm on the Abkins diet.
Here's to our health.
I mean, Biden is the so-called commander-in-chief. He is
no. He is the commander-in-chief. And by the way, the so-called commander-in-chief part, when you say it that way, Mark, you're not... By the way, you're watching HAL Sparks Mega Worldwide. Don't forget to like and subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, and share it. Mark, when you say so-called commander-in-chief, you're not mocking Biden. You're not saying that, Biden is allegedly the commander-in-chief, meaning that you don't believe he was legitimately elected. When you say so-called commander-in-chief, what you're saying is the president of the United States is a so-called commander-in-chief, and therefore that title is bullshit. Just for the record, Mr. fucking flag in the back.
Raising a disaster. He actually has the Russians negotiating with the Iranians on a nuclear deal with us. What kind of a fool does that? I will never know. He puts more...
It depends on if the deal gets done, I guess.
Sanctions on the American oil industry.
And also, are the Iranians working the Russians into this? I don't think that's happening currently, fucko. That was all happening up until the attack.
And no sanctions on the Russian oil industry as I speak. What kind of a fool does that when we can use oil?
Well, because they're coordinating with all the countries of the world, because it doesn't help if we're the only one that do it.
To debilitate the Russian economy, the Putin economy and war machine, rather than debilitate you, Mr. and Mrs. America.
Oh, thanks. Which one am I? I have a feeling you would misgender me from behind. I mean, honestly. Be like, who's the hot chick with the broad shoulders? That said, if we sanction Russian oil entirely, the price of oil will go up, and Mr. and Mrs. America, myself included, will feel it.
You have a damn fool in the White House. There's no question about that. And we should be muscling.
I'm sorry. This might be my mistake. Am I playing a video from a year and a half ago?
Our military for any possibilities, and we're not. Despite spending trillions and trillions of massive debt, we are not muscling up the United States military. Russia, China, Iran, the axis of evil, the real...
Wait a minute. Hold on. What the fuck are you talking about? We're not muscling up. You mean we're not spending? They increased the budget that Trump put for the military by like 3%, and that was supposed to be the biggest ever. The fuck?
That's of evil now that exists. But why does this matter? Because, ladies and gentlemen, I personally am sick and tired of hearing the excuses for Putin and the attacks on the United States.
Well then don't go on Fox anymore. What the fuck are you bitching at us for? Go tell Tucker Carlson. Ask Bongino why all of his questions are like, I don't know. Why would I mean if you were Putin, wouldn't you do the same thing?
We somehow are going to escalate something. We have been incredibly passive in the face of what Putin is doing. Diplomacy?
Putin.
Diplomacy? Look who the diplomats are. Look at the Secretary of State. He's pathetic. Look at the National Security Advisor.
By the way, are you just reading from Lavrov's script at this point?
Pathetic. We've never had such a pathetic team in modern American history.
So pathetic is the word that you're using. Mark, did you see your penis in a hand mirror again? Did that word get stuck in your head? It's hard to get it out. I understand.
It's true, vile, genocidal maniacs. Xi, the regime in Tehran, and yes, the fascist Putin, who's busy running around and...
The fascist Putin, who's made out of pewter, and who kneels in a pew. Pew Putin. That's what they call him. That's what the kids in Russia call him. Pew Putin. Pew Putin. Also, again, tell this to Tucker. What the fuck's wrong with you?
Calling the Jewish leader, the president of Ukraine, a Nazi. Think about that.
Yeah, I do. Every time Tucker Carlson brings it up.
The bad guys, the evil guys, are the Russians. They're not the Ukrainians.
Right.
They're not the Americans.
Well, the Russian leadership, a lot of the soldiers are like, I didn't want to fucking come do this, and it's a little more complicated than that. And I understand you're a simpleton, so you like simple things. But yeah, we know.
They're not the NATO forces. But what does bother me is the Ukrainians need weapons to defend themselves. They were promised MiG-29s, and their pilots can fight.
Yeah, they're getting them. But Poland wants our planes to replace the MiGs that they're giving them. And unless you're saying we should give Poland our next level fighters, if that's what you're saying, then fucking say it. Because we're not denying them that, and we're paying for them.
In MiG-29s, that's what they use. All of a sudden, they were pulled back. I don't favor sending American infantry into Ukraine. No. Does anybody? I don't think even Lindsey Graham does.
Even him?
I don't favor a no-fly zone with American Air Force jets and so forth. But can we at least give these freedom fighters the right to defend themselves? They're now being...
Well, yeah, but we don't make MiGs. Those are Russian planes, and you get them from Poland and other places. The fuck's wrong with you?
Brutalized. They're being slaughtered. They're being shot in the streets. Their women are being raped. There's torture taking place. What does this have to do with the United States? Do you think Putin is going to be happy with Ukraine any more than he was happy with Crimea, any more than he was happy with Georgia? He's told us what he wants.
Right. So why didn't you tell this to Donald Trump when he was all like, he's a best friend, we're so close. He hasn't done anything. He's not planning a giant attack. He's a thumb twiddler. It's what he does.
To do. You think he's building hypersonic missiles to attack Kiev? He's building hypersonic missiles to get around our defense systems. The way China's building their Navy and their hypersonic missiles, you think they're doing that to attack Taiwan?
No.
Do you think...
Mr. President, do you think that, you can go into any store you want to and buy any kind of rubber device and you can safely take it home and without reading the instructions not end up in the emergency room? No.
Iranians are building intercontinental ballistic missiles to hit Tel Aviv. They don't need intercontinental missiles to hit Tel Aviv, for which
Right. They need them for North Africa.
want to put warheads on. By the time this administration's done in Washington, the Iranians will have nuclear missiles. China will have conquered Taiwan.
Wait a minute. Hold on. First of all, the Iranians will have nuclear missiles. We had a deal stopping them from making them. Trump threw that out. All ground gained since then is Trump's fault. We're trying to get back into that and get them to stop. The Saudis don't like that. The Saudis don't want us to make a deal with the Iranians and get them at the negotiating table. So that's why they're choking off oil, dumb fuck.
And Russia may well be marching into other countries.
That's the whole thing? Jesus. And these are, what do you expect? And we're gonna, and there's no, and how come you, and look, Mr. Producer, listen, I don't want an intercontinental hypersonic dildo to strike me as I'm reaching over to tie my shoes. Don't want it to happen. You think they're trying to destroy us? Good Lord. I'm glad that was shorter than I thought. I mean, that's his whole segment. He usually goes, done, at the end of it, and then they bring him back on Sean Hannity or whatever the hell. All of the ground made by North Korea, all the ground made by Iran, all the ground made by Russia over the time that Trump was, it was basically like a strategic nap that Trump made us take while that stuff was happening. Now, what they don't realize is that we didn't care, and that the Pentagon and our defense industry and all these, they're always working on this shit. It's their thing. So they don't take a pause for anybody. They're paranoid. It's their job to be paranoid. So even though, Trump tried to hamstring it, and he certainly limited some of the arms that were going to Ukraine during his presidency, it still was like, it wasn't a year away, it was a week away. So it didn't work out for Russia in that regard. They fucked up. That was shorter than I thought. How's premature expectation? Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Anytime it's LEVIN, I'm always surprised at how short it is, and I shouldn't be. How can we even suggest BARR after you've seen the progress Biden's made? It's not root for Democrats, POTUS potentials. Because he's got to say that, because he'll get, even if he disagrees, I don't believe that either. Do you think I believe Bill Barr when he says he's going to vote for the Republican candidate if it's Trump? Nonsense. Bullshit. He's going to vote for the Democrat or not vote at all. Don't be silly. He's got to say that, though. Right? He has to say that. Otherwise, he'll be pilloried and his life will be threatened. I mean, it's already bad enough, I'm sure. But he's already persona non grata in some circumstances. But he's ingratiated himself into the Mitch McConnell world again just by doing this. Yeah, that's right, Leslie. They're towing the party line because he's on television. That's it. And Trump's not running. Just put that out of your mind. It's a long way off. Long way. Anyways, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. Tomorrow's show I will be doing from Los Angeles because I've got a show tomorrow night for, it's a fundraiser for the old Kindness of Strangers, the club we used to, club. It was a coffee house we all used to do back in the 90s. And it was one of the classic open mics in the whole city. And so we're doing a fundraiser to try and jumpstart another one again and help the couple that ran the place get another one off the ground because they had to close it down. So I will let you guys know about that. And I'll see if I can live stream it. I should be able to. I'm going to be bringing my gear with me. So fingers crossed, I'll be able to live stream the show to you guys. And thanks to everybody who was at the shows this weekend. It was lovely to see you guys. It was lovely to talk afterwards, especially about this show and what I've been doing on here. The salty cupcake was a request from that very thing. So, I don't get to stay home very long. I will post the information. They just sent me the new location stuff on it, and I don't have it on this computer, and I got to post it, but they just asked me to do it. So I will. Normally it's a NoHo. Yeah, that's what the original one was. So I will. Let's see. I don't have it in. Yeah, hold on. Maybe on this one. Hang on. Maybe that's the one thing I put up here. Good. And then, but whoops, turn upside down. You silly. And then, of course, don't forget April 1st at Yamava India Casino. Okay, details. Okay. Hold on. Checking these. There you go. Details, settings. Okay. Why are you doing that? Okay. And then sent to one. Okay. Hold on. Is there a... I love two-factor verification. It's a good time. I'm for it. Okay. There you go. Let's see. Where's that? It was in there, and then it's not. Didn't get it. I didn't get it. There we go. Whoops. It's... Now I got it. So many devices, and all of them broken. All right, here we go. No, okay, there we go. Then we go back to here, and we get this, and then update is now, and then and then hopefully we get this guy, and then here, and then okay. I did not. Where are you, you bastard? Checking for mail. Almost there. Tried. All right, this is ridiculous. I'll post it in a little bit as soon as I get off the air. I'll post it. It's going to be on my other laptop because it's a business account that's not on that stuff, and I have to open it, and it's crazy, and I don't know what to do, and it's all this nutty stuff, and there's no way to get around it. I don't know why. It's terrible. So I'll post it as soon as I get off the air. And for those of you that can't make it to the live show, I will see you tomorrow night. I'm also setting up my Flapper shows again. The first of the month in LA pretty soon, right after the Yamava show will be the first one. So or at the same time around that, I'm going to get as close to that as possible because some people are coming in. All right, I will see you guys later. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else, and keep your head up and keep smiling. We'll get through this. You're awesome, and stay that way. Okay, bye.